Pirates Fire Dragon Roar Chapter 341-360. Chapter 341 Pirates X Furs X Elephants. Alliance. Duke Inuarashi looked surprised. Are we and you? Fur people and humans? Yes, make an alliance. Vlad smiled. Kaido's beast pirates and Wano-kuni's generals will soon be able to sweep the entire Wano-kuni without incident, and the opponents we will face will be terrifying. The beast pirates, which were already extremely powerful, have become even stronger now. Vlad said this, with a distressed tone in his voice. You should be clear, right? Do you know what kind of power the warriors of Wano-kuni have? That country of samurai has a power that cannot be underestimated. Vlad is not alarming. Even in Wano-kuni, where monsters gather, the overall strength of Wano-kuni is absolutely not to be underestimated. In this country, which has established a country with martial arts and has used swordsmanship as the basis for the existence of the country since ancient times, no one knows what is hidden in the end. How many powerful swordsmen are there? The strength of the 100 beast pirates who have swept away all the resistance forces in Wano-kuni will expand to what extent, you will understand without me having to say more. Vlad said so. Silent, Duke Inuarashi didn't speak, and the boss of the cat-bellied snake sitting on the ground didn't speak either. Of course, they knew how powerful the beast pirates would be. It was definitely not a power they couldn't resist. It is only the result of being crushed, and there is only such a result. If it is only their fur tribe, it can only be like this. But, can you not fight? No, Kazuki Oden is nothing else. The Kazuki family is the benefactor of the fur tribe. It was the Kazuki family who brought new life to this race long ago. The two sides are good friends for hundreds of years. Duke Inuarashi and the cat, the boss of the belly snake, is also a retainer of Kazuki Oden. This kind of relationship can already be described as a family. In the original story, Zou could risk the lives of all citizens of the whole country to protect a ninja from the Kazuki family. Such a friendship, they are not allowed to give up revenge for their families. But, because of this, is it necessary to form an alliance with Vlad? Whether it is Duke Inuarashi or the cat-bellied snake, they are hesitant. Not all humans will be treated as family by them like the Kazuki family. As an intruder, as an enemy, and frankly, Vlad was no exception. Even if Vlad was studying ancient script at Kazuki Oden, even if Vlad was the one chosen by Kazuki Oden, even so, he wanted Duke Inuarashi and the boss of the cat-bellied snake to be treated as relatives, as if they could rely on their backs. It is absolutely impossible for people to look at it. They themselves do not want to doubt Kazuki Oden's judgment, but as leaders, they have to consider this country even more. Vlad is a pirate after all, or a shichibukai under the government, and they are responsible for their own country. Don't you want to? Vlad had a rare accident. This time, it was really an accident, but after thinking about it, I understood. After all, he is an outsider, or someone who does not have a very close relationship with Kazuki Oden. If he and Sakata's change the identities, then it is estimated that both parties have completed the alliance, but he is not. Vlad is Shichibukai, it's normal to be suspected. Ah, what a mistake. Vlad seems to have a headache. The fur tribe is a force he must win. The average strength is amazing, the individual strength is extraordinary, and the high-end strength is not lacking. There is even a Moon Lion mode that is just like Zone's Awakening. Want to see? The normal mode is already equal to the cat-bellied snake and Inuarashi of the Drought Jack. What kind of level can the Moon Lion achieve? The fur tribe is really an extremely powerful force. In exchange for any careerist, as long as there is a situation where this power can be brought into his subordinates, I am afraid that he will not give up easily. So Vlad is a little tangled, because for now, these guys don't trust themselves enough. This is really a bit of a powerless thing. Even in the original story, the Straw Hats were able to gain the trust of the fur tribe because they saved the country from the beast pirates. Vlad can't count on it. He has gained the wholehearted trust of the fur tribe with an identity who has learned writing under Kazuki Oden. This is simply impossible. Boom. The sudden loud noise instantly broke the silence in the room. What? Vlad looked surprised. His body was thrown directly into the air, and with him were the samurai Sakata, Duke Inuarashi, the boss of the cat-bellied snake, and all the objects in this room, all flying in a mess. Up in the air. Whoa! Then everything immediately fell to the ground again, tossed, fell, and the cycle went on and on. Boom 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 boom. An instant, the heavens and the earth shook, as if Whitebeard was going all out to use his abilities on this island. This is an unimaginable horror shock. Kakakakakakaka. The cracks visible to the naked eye spread in this room, and the terrifying force began to destroy this house from top to bottom. Whoa! The solid room collapsed in an instant, burying the four of Vlad directly underground. The earthquake is not over yet, and the furry principality has been devastated. The scale of the earth is shocking. In just a moment, there are not many intact buildings in the cities of this country. The tree houses collapsed, the wooden houses collapsed, and everything was intense. The earthquake turned into ruins. The originally peaceful country suffered an unprecedented ordeal in an instant. Wow! The top of the ruins burst open, the debris rose into the sky, and a fiery red voice rose into the sky. Vlad held the samurai Sakata in his hand and covered his ears with the other hand. Islands. This is. The strong vibration has not stopped, but the powerful strength has been able to make Duke Inuarashi stand on the ground. He looked at the surrounding ruins a little dazedly. What's wrong? Lord Duke. So crying, what happened? It's all ruined. So shouted, our country. What the hell happened? The cat-bellied snake instantly thought of the only murderer who could cause such a state of affairs. Could it be, like the Lord he? Woo, Sama warrior, you stay here. Vlad threw Sakata to the ground casually, and looked to the other side. Did you hear it? Hearing is really amazing. It's loud enough, asshole. However, Vlad suddenly issued, this also seems like an opportunity. Chapter 342 Fire Dragon X Giant Elephant. What's the matter? Duke Inuarashi instantly reacted to what had happened. Elephant Lord, what's the matter? What the hell happened? I don't know. Boss of the cat-bellied snake was also at a loss. There has never been such a thing since ancient times. What happened to the elephant master? It's like he's crazy. Boss. It was very difficult for Pedro to walk from one side. It was not easy to just stand still. After all, the strong vibration was not over yet. This guy, but the sudden change made him terrified, and everything around him was destroyed in an instant. The prosperous country has been hit as hard as ever in the blink of an eye. Fortunately, the two highest leaders are not in serious trouble, so things have not been bad to the worst. Pedro. The cat-bellied snake boss turned his head and asked with concern, are you all right? Quote. Pedro shook his head silently. Of course he had nothing to do. His strength would not allow him to be hurt in such an earthquake. However, he was not hurt, which does not mean that others did not. This is because of his integrity. The man who is strong, the most loyal and trusted by everyone in this country does not feel well. Damn. Duke Inuarashi scolded suddenly. What happened all of a sudden? Is the elephant mad? Can you stop the elephant master? Boss of the cat-bellied snake said. Right now, only the building is damaged, but if it continues, the forest soil will be shaken from the back of the elephant owner, and this country will really be finished. I'm afraid not. Pedro shook his head. In this situation, it's not easy to just move, it's just the easiest problem. The real question is. Duke Inuarashi had a wry smile on his face, how to stop the Elephant Lord. Its power is beyond the reach of mortals. Not to mention, the Elephant Master is completely unable to communicate. I vaguely hear you saying that the Elephant Master can't communicate. Not necessarily. A loud voice came from one side. Vlad covered his ears with his hands, and floated in the air with a smile. The earthquake caused by the elephant was really terrifying. It easily destroyed the country in a mess, but for Vlad, who can fly in the air, it is not a big problem. What? Duke Inuarashi turned his head, looking very surprised. What did you say? Vlad's voice was loud. Forget it, I can't hear it clearly anyway, but what I mean is, the elephant can communicate with the Lord. What? The cat-bellied snake's eyes widened. Although you can't hear it, I can hear it. Vlad frowned, for no other reason, but simply because the voice he heard was getting louder and louder. Such sadness sounds like crying. What? Duke Inuarashi was very surprised, and immediately realized that Vlad's performance was not the first time. Don't tell me. Like Captain Roger and Lord Odin. The cat-bellied snake consciously said for him what he did not finish. Can you hear the voice of the Lord? Mr. Vlad. Duke Inuarashi asked eagerly, can you hear the voice of the elephant? Yeah. Vlad said, although I don't understand what it means, I can indeed hear its voice. Is that so? Duke Inuarashi turned his head and glanced at the boss of the cat-bellied snake. At the same time, he saw a trace of clarity in the other's eyes. Finally, he understood why Kazuki Odin believed that Vlad was the one that the Kazuki family had been waiting for more than 800 years. Why would Kazuki Odin think Vlad is the one who will bring dawn to this world? Kazuki clan who have a deep relationship with the Elephant Lord, the last one to show such power was One Piece, King of Pirates Skull. Roger, the man who broke the night. Lord Odin's vision is indeed correct. This man is the guy that the Kazuki family and the Fur tribe have been waiting for 800 years. Vlad. The cat-bellied snake boss said suddenly. Well. Vlad turned his head and didn't hear much. Can we trust you? Duke Inuarashi said this with a serious look. Can you trust me? Vlad gradually grinned, and when he heard the words clearly, he let go of his hand. That's not it. Of course. Excellent. The cat-bellied snake smiled. Although it had a hideous face, it really had the cuteness of a feline animal. Then I'll trouble you. Please. Duke Inuarashi said so. Ah. I was actually asked for it. Vlad smiled. It seems that the only way to do it is to do it well. The wings slammed, and the whole person rose into the sky. Fly straight into the distance. For a stranger who is not very familiar, please, you can't say it casually, but if the other party is your friend, or relative, then of course you can say it casually. Fire Dragon, Vlad. The cat-bellied snake boss had a smile on his face. That's true. Duke Inuarashi laughed. Let's wait too long. Boss, my lord the Duke. Pedro on the side was a little confused, not knowing what the two bosses were thinking. Don't worry, Pedro. Boss of the cat-bellied snake smiled like this. That man will definitely solve it successfully. Huh. Pedro's voice was hollow. Just trust him. Duke Inuarashi said, he's a man to trust, isn't he? Mr. Sakata. Yeah. Sakata on the side nodded and said, I'm afraid of getting lost. Quote. Pedro suddenly felt as if he could not fit into the world of these people. What an amazing man. Duke Inuarashi smiled. Fire Dragon Vlad. On the other side, in order to live up to such a newcomer, the trusted Vlad burst out with flames. It didn't take long for him to fly out of the range of the island and onto the giant elephant's head. From this angle, I can see more clearly. This elephant is not walking on the sea like usual, but running, like a frightened wild elephant. It's no wonder that such a big earthquake would occur in Zoo. The closer he got, the louder the sound. Vlad had to cover his ears again, constantly afraid that if he continued like this, the eardrums would be shattered directly. Hey, I said, big stupid elephant. Vlad flew in front of the giant elephant's eyes, which was very scary. The giant elephant's eyes were shrouded in shadows. For Vlad, this shadow was as huge as a canyon, and it was amazing. Vlad shouted. You calm me down. Woo. Ah. Vlad's face suddenly became hideous, and his voice became louder. Chapter 343 Surprised. The sea in the New World is never willing to be calm, As in the four seas, the wind is light and the clouds are light. The weather with the sun shining in the sky is really likely not to be seen in the New World for a long time, or maybe, it will be encountered for several months in a row. Yes, it's really unpredictable weather. Just like now. The storm is the main theme of this sea area. Just like the whole world has been abandoned by the gods, all disasters have been added to this sea area, and everything in this sea area is wanted to be destroyed. The waves swept, the wind whistled, and the dark clouds were not filled with bright lightning that pierced the sky, and bombarded the sea heavily, and a thin mist of water soon filled the air. What is even more terrifying is that on the sea, countless waterspouts connecting the heaven and earth are raging. A huge amount of sea water is swept into the sky by the strong wind. What can be vaguely seen in the waterspout? There are still live fish. Class exists. Captain. If we don't sail out of this sea again, we'll probably just be silent here. A tattered ship, even the mast was cut off. A certain pirate shouted so hoarsely, "There is no way, there is too much movement around. If the sound is not loud enough, I am afraid that even people close at hand will listen." Not what he was saying. Of course I know. Beside him, the man with the dense bandage wrapped around the upper body of Chaluo also shouted, and there were faint bloodstains on his bandage, but now the mast is broken and the rudder is damaged. How do we run? Quote. Damn. The pirate captain roared, "Isn't this a worthy reputation? Big Mom Pirate Group, just one pirate group under its banner can make us look like this." Hacksaw Eben, that monster. The nameless pirate captain had a strange expression on his face, and his fear was mixed with resentment. It was very strange, the fleet that was finally formed, actually in such a short time. Boom. The sudden vibration caused the ship to shake violently, and the huge waves rolled up instantly. What? The pirate captain almost fell to the ground without stopping. What's the matter? Boom 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 boom. Before the pirate captain could react, the continuous strong vibrations went from far to near, and the waves on this sea suddenly became more turbulent. That is. It was very abrupt, and the pirate who was talking to the pirate captain shouted in horror, "What is that?" The sound could be described as terrifying. What? The pirate captain turned his head, and then saw a terrifying scene. In the distance, above the dark clouds, there seemed to be something extremely terrifying. 4 pillars connecting the heaven and earth fell from the clouds. No, it's not a pillar, but 4 legs, huge and terrifying legs, carrying the monsters above the clouds are rushing towards this side. That's... Pirate captain muttered to himself, "What?" In just a few short sentences, the 4 pillars supporting the sky came to the front of the big ship. Could it be? The pirate captain remembered a certain legend of the New World. This is Elephant Island, Zo. Boom. The huge thighs fell from the sky and directly stepped on the pirate ship to the bottom of the sea. Dash 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 dash. Vlad didn't know what was going on under the clouds. He was covering his ears and looked uncomfortable. The voice of the Lord was very loud. Although ordinary people couldn't hear it, Vlad could hear it. It is really a huge sound that can shatter the eardrums of people. "Hey, can you hear me?" Vlad yelled, "Elephant." There was no reaction at all. This giant elephant was still running wildly on the sea like before. Vlad didn't have to think about it and knew how serious the consequences this elephant on the sea below had caused during this period of time. Did the elephant not hear it? Of course not. Why is this elephant crazy? Others don't know. Vlad still has a guess. The elephant can hear his voice and Momonosuke's voice. Is this really listening? Of course not. In the original story, Momonosuke could give orders to this elephant in the furry principality. Could it be true that the elephant lord could hear the voice so far away? Of course not. Momonosuke is special, the elephant is special, and Vlad is of course special. The elephant can hear Momonosuke's voice and Vlad's voice, so it makes no sense to do so. I can't hear what Vlad said to Duke Inuarashi and Boss Snake in the furry principality just now. Other words, The elephant already knew about the destruction of the Kazuki family, so it was normal for it to go crazy. After all, the Kazuki family and its origins are not that simple. Vlad could hear it. It was a very sad sound, even more sad than the last time Vlad encountered it. Sad to the point of wanting to self-destruct. This elephant, maybe it wants to die like this. Hey, you bastard. There. A raging flame spewed out of Vlad's body, and Vlad was like a red comet streaking a gorgeous trajectory in the air, and soon came to the position on the forehead of the elephant, although it was said to be forehead, but to Vlad, it's like a cliff. Let me wake up a little. Vlad's body swelled violently, and a huge fire dragon appeared in the air. Although Vlad seldom used this form due to its too large size to cast Zhu Rong, Vlad rarely used this form, but in terms of strength, the dragon form still surpassed on top of Zhu Rong's dragon man form. Dragon fist, great collapse. Vlad clenched his fist with his right front paw, and white gold flames lingered on it. Boom. The huge fist slammed heavily on the forehead of the elephant owner. It looked as funny as the ants clenched their fists and bombarded the elephant. But the consequences are like a rhino hitting an elephant. Vlad's tiny body has terrifying power. There. White gold flames shot up into the sky, and the elephant lord's forehead was instantly blasted with a big hole. After thousands of years of wind and frost, many of the elephant's skin and flesh have been rotten, just like its heart. The elephant stopped, and the intense pain instantly brought it back to its senses. Facts have proved that if the bear child is always disobedient, it will be fine to beat him. Woo. Vlad returned to his dragon man form and smiled. Have you finally calmed down? Now let's have a good chat. You. An extremely loud voice rang in Vlad's ears. What? Vlad looked astonished. Not because it's too loud, but he actually got it. Chapter 344 Resonance. It's not a strange thing to be able to understand other people's words, even if there are various metaphors, but for people, being able to understand other people's words is only the most basic thing. However, now Vlad is very surprised to understand the words of others. The reason is of course very simple, because what he understands is not the words of human beings, but the words of the terrifying giant elephant in front of him. Vlad's face was visibly surprised. He heard the giant elephant saying, long tilde waiting. My tilde sin. Already tilde can't wait for tilde the day of forgiveness tilde. My tilde life. It's over tilde here it is. The grand voice echoed in Vlad's ears, and Vlad could hear it clearly, and listened clearly to the words of the Lord. This was something he could never do before. You must know that it happened not long ago. Vlad had direct communication with the elephant, but the situation at that time was completely different from the current situation. At that time, Vlad realized that the elephant could understand him. But he could not understand the words of the Lord. So what is the situation? Why can I now understand what the elephant is saying? It's so strange. Vlad's heart is full of surprise. So does the change come from the elephant or Vlad himself? This is not easy to judge. After all, Vlad is not the same as he was not long ago. After the battle with Kaido, Vlad's hockey level has improved significantly compared to before, especially observation hockey. The point where the future has been vaguely foreseen has taken another step forward. What is even more amazing is that Vlad's observation hockey has developed towards a more magical aspect. Although it is not obvious now, there is already a vague sense of it. Similar to an intuitive feeling. So, is it because of Vlad's progress that he can now hear the voice of the Lord? It's possible, but maybe it's not too optimistic. After all, even that Roger can't communicate with the Elephant Master. Vlad doesn't think that he is now comparable to One Piece King of Pirates. Then, is it because of the Lord's own reasons for such a side? After all, Kazuki Momonosuke, the only person it has admitted to be able to communicate with, has died, and the Kazuki family, which has an unknown connection with it, has been destroyed. Is it for this reason? Vlad is very curious, but the current situation is that he has no extra time to think about such things. After all, Zuko is still waiting for him to save him, and he is very busy. Hey, don't say that. Vlad hovered in front of the giant elephant's eyes with a loud voice. Elephant, isn't it good to live well? Wow, how enviable you are to be able to live for so long. My sins can't be washed away. The elephant said this, and the grand voice was full of grief, so sad Vlad wanted to cry with it just listening to it. My life also has no meaning. In the long life it's just nothingness. Who? Vlad smiled. Since he can communicate, it means that there is a way to solve the problem. If it can be solved, then you can try it. But elephant, there is a country behind you. Vlad said, is it because of your desperation that you want all the lives of this country to be buried with you? After all, it is the race that you watched develop. Is it so heartless? I sheltered them for over 800 years. The giant elephant said so, with a tone full of reason. Then, let them die together I didn't feel that there is something wrong. That's it. Vlad pondered, not a kind-hearted elephant. No wonder he committed unforgivable sins in the long past. This elephant doesn't care about the appearance of the fur on his back. Of course, the fur to him, the clan is nothing but parasites living on him. Do humans care about parasites? So, elephant, does your master think so too? Vlad asked suddenly. Master only let me let them survive behind my back. Let me wander the sea. Let me wait the one who brings the dawn. The elephant didn't mean to hide at all, so he said, except I haven't waited until the owner said that. I have done everything. That's it. Isn't this something that hasn't been done yet? Vlad smiled, so you won't listen to your master. I am for atonement. The elephant's voice sighed, but now my sins can't be washed away. My mistakes can no longer be forgiven. Then this kind of behavior will no longer make sense. Understood. Vlad nodded and said clearly, because the person who can forgive you, and wash away your sins is gone. So you decided to die with your sins on your back, right? Yes indeed it is so. Elephant confirmed. So your master's surname is Kazuki, right? Vlad smiled. Indeed really like this. The elephant did not hide. That makes it clear. Vlad smiled. Of course, the owner of the elephant must have the surname Kazuki. In this way, everything can be explained clearly, why the fur tribe of Zo is so friendly to the Kazuki tribe and willing to be the others' retainers. Of course, the territory of this race, the foundation of this country, is given by others. This is why Kazuki Odin can hear the voice of the elephant master, and this is also why Kazuki Momonosuke can command the elephant. It is very simple. Kazuki Odin is the descendant of the elephant master, and Momonosuke may be the new master. So, because of the destruction of the Kazuki family, did you lose your motivation to live? Fred asked. Already there will be no more someone who can forgive me . The elephant cried, I choose death. That's it. Vlad flew to the head of the elephant and fell down. At first glance, it looked like a large plane on the edge of a cliff. Vlad sat down, and then simply lay directly on the head of the elephant. Anyway, there is no rush now, the elephant owner has stopped the commotion, and now it is enough to let the elephant give up the idea of courting death. So, without forgiveness, are you lucky to end your life like this? Vlad's tone was full of sarcasm. It's timid enough. Timid. Like the Lord's voice is very puzzled, I can't understand. Isn't it? It was only then that Vlad realized that the thinking of this elephant was different from that of humans, and that the method of aggressiveness was completely useless to him. So, if I want you to live, Vlad said, do you have to find a master for you? Look. Man lying on the ground smiled like this, how am I? What? Elephants, not very good brains can't recover. I can hear you and communicate with you. Vlad said, so why can't I be your master? Let me forgive your sins. Let me forgive your mistakes. Since this elephant's brain is not very useful, then just fool him. Quote. A high voice rang out. Vlad suddenly flashed before his eyes, and something got into his mind. This is Chapter 345 Kazuki X Elephant X Fur Race. This is. Vlad's eyes widened, but his eyes couldn't see anything. Something blocked in front of him. What? What is this? Vlad has not been so surprised for a long time. Suddenly, a huge amount of information was transmitted into Vlad's brain from nowhere. Vlad's eyes kept flashing white light. Gradually, he was able to see things. It didn't seem to be what he saw in his eyes, but from the depths of his mind, as if he had experienced the same familiarity. Is it because of the elephant? A flash of light flashed in Vlad's mind, and he immediately figured out what the situation was. In fact, he was not a special case. In the original story, Kazuki Momonosuke once said after he went to Elephant Island that he saw "I've seen Roger," but is it possible that this 8-year-old kid at the time has actually seen Roger? Of course not. Roger has been dead for over 20 years. However, he didn't seem to lie, and there may be only one reason. He has not seen it, but as the Lord has seen Roger, Vlad somewhat understands the current situation. Vlad's eyes were gradually covered with white brilliance. Does it count as listening to the voice of all things? Me. Vlad opened his eyes, and the scenery in front of him was very unfamiliar, something he had never seen before. Then, what was even more amazing was that his perspective was completely different from his usual perspective. What the eyes see is completely different. Vlad looked very surprised, but he found that he couldn't make a sound, which was good. The worst thing was that he couldn't feel the existence of his body at all now. He was very uncertain now. What he is now was the sight he saw really what he saw himself. Memories. Fortunately, Vlad can still think, so he is not too panicked. Is this the memory of the elephant? It's so high. With a very high angle of view, it is absolutely impossible to be a line of sight of anything else, and only the largest creature above the sea will have such a line of sight. Vlad could see that the sea was not calm, and the wreckage of countless ships slowly sank toward the bottom of the sea in the flames. It could be seen that this was a battlefield, which was not an uncommon thing. I don't know how many battlefields Vlad has seen and experienced personally, but this is the first time such a battlefield. It is extremely terrifying. You must know that the size of the elephant is the size of a small island, and the height has exceeded the clouds. However, even with such height, he cannot see the whole picture of the battlefield, and he cannot see the end of the battlefield at all, but you can clearly see the wreckage of the ships on the sea, so you can see how amazing the size of these ships is. A terrible war. Fred exclaimed. It's too late. Is it over? Is it over like this? Suddenly, Vlad heard such a voice. I don't know where it came from, but a very clear voice of a man. Of course, this was not the voice that Vlad heard himself, but the voice that the Lord heard when he came to this battlefield sometime in the past. The voice that arrived was a very sad, desolate voice. We completely failed. Failure. Immediately, Vlad's mind began to associate. What was the failure? War. Fight. What will this world be like in the future? The man sighed like this, his tone extremely desolate. Kazuki-sama, what shall we do? Then, such a voice came over, a very timid, hurried, confused voice, not very clear, and Vlad also understood that not everyone's voice could be heard like the Lord. Kazuki. Naturally, Vlad would not miss such crucial information, and of course Kazuki would not be another guy. What to do? Became Kazuki-sama was also a little confused. Yeah, what should we do next? The world is occupied by them. Where can we breathe? Let's go, let's go. The man's voice was full of confusion. Elephant, take us away. Go to the end of the world and see. Show me what the world will be like. Kazuki-sama. The voice that started talking was a little confused. However, he didn't know what to say. No, no, no. Named Kazuki has changed his attitude in an instant. He does not seem to be a person who is easily discouraged or gives up hope. His ability to withstand pressure is not weak. Although we failed, although the world is about to be taken over by those guys. Kazuki muttered to himself, although, in the current situation, I'm already powerless, but, after all, there is one thing I can do. Quote, question mark. The voice on the side opened his mouth and said, what? Kazuki-sama. I need to record all my secrets. Kazuki said, the truth of the world cannot be covered up. After those guys took this world, they absolutely ran into the ruins. I must never allow such a thing to happen. Our results have been stolen, and we've had a hard time beating, but, we've been betrayed. I won't allow it. I can't see the blood of the heroes go in vain. I can't accept that all the hard work we've done has been wiped out. Kazuki's tone was decisive. The long night is coming. I don't know how long it will last, but I want people who come later to know what happened at this time, and what happened in the evening before the night. Kazuki's mental state was extremely excited. I want to leave a spark for people in the future. If someone wants to explore the truth of history later, I hope be able to keep them from getting lost. The will to pursue freedom will never be cut off. Although we failed, the later heirs will uphold this will and bring dawn to the world. Kazuki said, if at that time, my efforts can bring them a little help, then I can think that the efforts of people in our time are not in vain. Kazuki-sama. By the way, I'm going back to Wano-kuni soon. You can't follow me there, outsiders are not welcome there. Kazuki said, just stay here. Here. Well, just stay behind the elephant. Kazuki said solemnly, you don't have the power to protect yourself, let the elephant protect you. Did you hear, elephant? Vlad heard Kazuki say, protect them. Don't stop, just atone for your own actions. Atone for the lives of the heroes lost because of you. Vlad heard the elephant's cry of sadness and shame. Kazuki-sama. Very frightened, very confused voice. Sorry, I can't take you with me anymore. Vlad heard Kazuki say, you should also learn to grow up by yourself. You are also life and a member of this world, although you. So, from today onwards, you will be called Fur Clan. You stay with the elephants. Wait for the era that will bring dawn to the world, and the person who will make the sun rise. At least don't, the one who drives the night away. Feeling alone. Chapter 346 Guess X Kazuki X Roger. Then, as the voice of the man named Kazuki fell, the sight Vlad said he saw began to vanish, and the voice began to drift away, and his eyes were gradually covered by a dazzling white light. See nothing. Although the scene in front of him has disappeared, the agitation in Vlad's heart has just begun to surge, and it seems that he has heard something extraordinary. At first, it was just to win over the fur tribe and come to stop the elephant lord so as to protect Zoe, but the sudden change seems to have brought something unexpected, and the secrets buried in the past seem to have been opened to Fradra. A corner. Vlad was a little surprised. This kind of thing is his dream, and he finally came to this world once. Now that he has chosen to embark on the voyage to become One Piece, King of Pirates, it is natural to be curious about such a secret, right? Named Kazuki before revealed a lot of information. Although it was not complete, it was definitely crucial information. First of all, the first one, I didn't say, that the one called Kazuki is the ancestor of the Wano-kuni Kazuki family, that is, he decided to create a historical text, and wanted to record the history that may be destroyed soon. He has made it very clear well, don't even think about it. Then he said they lost, and when he saw the battlefield, he said they lost, very simply, that is, they lost in that war, which is already a lot of information, because the latter man named Kazuki also said that they could no longer stop them from taking over the world. Obviously, this war is a war that revolves around the hegemony of the world. Just by looking at the battlefield on the sea that I just said I saw, you can already glimpse a corner of this war. What a terrifying scale of war it is. In comparison, the war on the top is probably also a pediatrics, right? So, it can be concluded that Kazuki's side, or at least the side he supported, was defeated in that war that swept the world, and their opponents took the world's dominance. Then, Kazuki's side, let alone who is on the side, there is no clue whatsoever. However, it is already obvious who the winner is. Who has the right to rule the world, who has ruled the world for 800 years. Does that even need to be said? If there were no superfluous changes in the middle, then Vlad can say with certainty that the victor of that war is the legendary 20 kings who recreated the world and created the world government, that is, the ancestors of Tenryubito. It's really not that hard to guess. Then, that Kazuki said, finally defeated, who the hell did they defeat? Afterwards, after defeating the unknown enemy, Kazuki said again, we have been betrayed. Does this mean that the two sides of that war were on the same front at the very beginning? Together against another enemy, another terrifying adversary who must gather all his strength to fight. Then after defeating the opponent, the original united front split. The two sides have launched a fierce battle over the hegemony of the world. And then the victory was won by 20 kings. But this doesn't make sense. If this is the case, the government has absolutely no need to erase history. This is just a normal hegemonic struggle, and there is absolutely no need to erase the entire 100 years of history. Can't draw a conclusion. Vlad can't draw an accurate conclusion at all, and the information revealed is too little, and that's all that can be known. Then, at last, Vlad learned something more interesting. You are also life and a part of the world, even though you. Although what about you? What is Kazuki trying to say? Vlad was suddenly curious. Could it be, although you are not natural creatures? Something like this. After all, the fur tribe is only distributed on Elephant Island, and there are no other relatives in this world. Vlad was a little curious. When Vlad was curious, the scene in front of him changed again. A blue color appeared in front of him, and a blue sea appeared in front of him. It was also condescending, standing at an unknown height overlooking the sea. Same. Me. Vlad is a little curious. Where is this? Hey, Rayleigh, check it out. Then, Vlad heard such a voice. Ha 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 ha, what a big elephant. It's like an island. It's so handsome. Odin, is this so? Hey 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 hey, isn't it? Although Vlad can't feel his body, he can be 100% sure that at this moment, he must have a smile on his face, a very bright and happy smile. This man is. Yes, Captain Roger. Then Vlad heard a very familiar voice. Although it was definitely younger than what he had heard before, it was indeed the voice of a very familiar man. This is Zoe, the island of miracles that has been walking in the New World for an unknown number of years. Of course, it wasn't anyone else who spoke, only the deceased, the head of the Kazuki family that had just been destroyed. Kuri's former name, Kazuki Odin. At this time, his voice was still very young. This is the hometown of Catbelly and Inuarashi. Quote dash 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 exclamation mark. Percent dollar dollar and amp, dollar dollar. Then came two more voices, completely incomprehensible voices, but if there is no accident, it should be the cat-bellied snake and Inuarashi. No accident, the elephant master can't understand them at all. An amp, percent New World at hash percent fantastic. Quote. It was the voice of a very familiar man, and of course he was also much younger than he is now. Of course Vlad knew who this man was speaking. Of course, his identity could only be the right hand of the future One Piece King of Pirates. That Hades Rayleigh. Woo. The elephant suddenly shouted loudly. Of course Vlad knew why, because someone from Kazuki came, as the Lord was longing for. Would he be liberated just like this? Vlad could understand, like the Lord was saying, how long do I have to go? Well. The man who started talking was very surprised and said, hey, did you hear anything? $hash% at hash percent. Quote dash 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 exclamation mark. Quote, question mark. Dot dot dot. A series of incomprehensible sounds. What? Man, of course the future One Piece King of Pirates, Gall. D. Roger said, have you not heard? No, Captain Roger. Kazuki Odin said, I heard it. It was a huge, incomprehensible voice. Really? You heard that too? Ha ha ha. Very happy, Roger laughed. As expected, I heard it right. But can't understand. Dawn tilde at tilde what time? Called the Lord. This is. Dawn, are you waiting for dawn? Vlad was suddenly startled. He did hear such a voice, said by Roger, such words, that man, could understand what the elephant was saying. How could he communicate with the elephant master? I've been tilde waiting for tilde the person who brings dawn tilde. As the Lord answered. Really, such a long wait. Then wait and see. Vlad heard Roger say. The first ray of light has appeared. Let me try and see if I can end this long dark night. Chapter 347 Convention. A louder, extremely excited voice. Wow. Vlad heard Kazuki Odin's somewhat painful voice. What is this? The voice suddenly became louder. Of course, he said this because he didn't understand the words of the elephant master, and he couldn't communicate with this giant elephant, so of course he couldn't understand what kind of information was contained in the huge sound emitted by this giant elephant. But Vlad could understand, he could understand what the elephant was saying. Are you the tilde who brought the dawn tilde? The one who brings the dawn? The future One Piece King of Pirates, Gull. D. Roger, the man laughed, ha 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 ha, is it really? It's a really hard question to answer, is it or isn't it? I don't know. But. If there is such a person, I will work hard to achieve such a goal. You tilde aren't you? This time it was a somewhat disappointed voice. Elephant's thoughts were so straight, and he didn't know how to turn. Ha 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 ha. Finally, Roger said, since it's been so long, wait a little longer. I don't think such a long night will last long. Captain Roger, what are you talking about? Kazuki Odin asked. Even if Vlad didn't see the picture, he could still imagine the man's puzzled eyes. After all, Roger, who was talking to himself, was a little strange to him. Hey, chatting with a friend. What? Wow. Then, the scene in front of Vlad instantly shattered, and it turned into a spot of light and disappeared in Vlad's eyes. That's all he could see. Vlad's eyes suddenly turned black, and he couldn't see anything. Then, he found that his body could already feel it. Hey. Vlad suddenly sat up and opened his eyes. The scene in front of him was still so familiar. He was still in the same place, lying on the elephant's forehead. What he saw just now seemed to be a dream. It's really interesting. It can actually let me see what happened in the past so long. Oh, that's amazing. Vlad suddenly laughed and looked very excited. You are amazing. Elephant, can you do something like this? What did you see tilde? The elephant's voice was a little confused. Don't you know? Vlad was a little surprised. Wasn't what happened just now under the control of the Lord himself? Wait, so, is it very likely that Roger has experienced something like his own? So you don't feel abrupt at the words of the elephant master? This is impossible to say. What an amazing elephant. So of course Vlad can't just watch it die like this. If it dies, the Fur clan will be finished. Vlad can't stand such a loss. In his opinion, the Fur clan is already in his pocket. It's gone, and now it seems that this elephant needs to be added. So, definitely let him live. No tilde what? The elephant looked confused. It's nothing, by the way, elephant, you have been obeying the master's orders and waiting for someone who can bring dawn to this world, right? Vlad said so. Yes, I've been tilde waiting. The elephant owner is a very sincere elephant. He never cheats and answers naturally. Really? Vlad smiled, so your master wants you to atone for your sins by doing this, right? This is really interesting. If you die like this, wouldn't you be disobeying your master's orders? Elephant, is it really good to go against your master's expectations like this? Because tilde. Elephant said this with a very sad look. There is no one who can forgive me at sea. Sin tilde has tilde cannot be washed away, my life tilde has tilde no meaning. It was wrong from the very beginning. The smile on Vlad's face disappeared, and he said very seriously, Elephant, you got it wrong from the very beginning. What? The elephant looked very suspicious. Did you think your master just kept you waiting for him to forgive you? Vlad asked very strangely, It's so strange, isn't it? Hasn't your master been dead for hundreds of years? Who are you waiting for to forgive you? Are they from the Kazuki family? They are only the descendants of your master, right? It's been so many years, and the only connection between them and your master is that they also have the surname Kazuki, right? Vlad said, does the forgiveness of such a person do you any good? Then, how do I wash my tilde sin? The elephant looked a little confused, who will come tilde forgive me? Idiot, although I don't know what kind of sin you have committed in the past, but... Vlad smiled, it's been so long, you have followed your master's orders to shelter the fur tribe for so many years, it should be almost the same, right? Just wait until the person your master said can bring dawn to this world appears, and follow him to bring the morning sun to this sea. Vlad said solemnly, isn't your sin already washed away? You don't need anyone's approval at all. Is that so? The elephant said, is there such a reason? Its voice was very excited, and even the intermittent feeling in the words disappeared. Isn't this a matter of course? Idiot, well, I have to apologize to you first, you don't need a master anymore, and you don't need anyone to forgive your sins. Vlad said apologetically. Can't understand. Elephant is very confused. It's very simple. Your master asked you to protect the fur tribe, and then waited for the person he said to make atonement, and then if you complete these things, it naturally means that your sins have been washed away. Vlad persevered, you'll be free at that time. Is there anything in your life that binds you? What? The elephant looked surprised, don't you need the master to forgive me? No need. Vlad said, why do you need such a thing? Your master has been dead for how long, how can he forgive you? Your master thinks so. Is that so? Is that so? Does the master actually think so? You tilde. It was an earth-shattering cry, but Vlad didn't cover his ears, because it was a very pleasant and joyous cry. It turns out that as long as the person mentioned by the master appears, I will be free. So, then, Vlad. The elephant actually knew Vlad's name. When will that man show up? When will that man show up? When? Vlad smiled. Let's make a deal. I'm not the same as Roger. He said he didn't know when it would come, but I'd say. Let me be the one who brings the dawn. Chapter 348 Pirate Elephant Fur Tribe Alliance. Let me be the one who brings the dawn. Vlad said this, with the most unscrupulous and ambitious smile on his face. He is not the same as Roger. Roger will say that he does not know when such a person will appear when he confronts the Lord. But Vlad would say that he would be the one who was expected by the ancestors of that Kazuki family more than 800 years ago. Not just the difference between Vlad and Roger, but more importantly, the times have changed. It has been 22 years since Roger opened the era of great sailing. Vlad is now in this era is completely different from the era Roger was in. It belongs to freedom, and the power to pursue freedom is far stronger than that of Roger. The era of the great pirates is not just talking about it. The pirates galloping on the sea may be a lot of garbage, but they can really get out. Mingtang, who has a place in the sea, must have his own beliefs and desire to pursue his dreams and go to sea, there is no doubt. The comparison of strengths in the world is completely different. If this era of sea mountain men and heroes chasing their dreams at sea is called the era of big pirates, then the era belonging to the old seniors like Roger Golden Lion Whitebeard Garp Sengoku Zephyr should be called the era of little pirates. Two very different eras. The number of pirates has increased unprecedentedly. Although the four emperors of the Golden Pirates can still sit on the top, everyone knows that there are too many silver medalists under this emperor, especially in the next 2 years. In 2008, the worst eras poured into the great shipping route, Marine, no longer able to maintain order on the sea, the government can no longer restrain people's yearning for freedom. It can be said that the current sea is like a dynamite barrel. As long as there is a little spark, the original order of this world will be shattered in an instant. So, where exactly will Mars appear at this point? Vlad is very clear that the original Mars was Whitebeard, the strongest pirate group in the Blue Sea for more than 20 years, and the collapse of the pirate group closest to the location of One Piece, King of Pirates. The mountain was finally eliminated, which finally started the prelude to this unprecedented battle for maritime supremacy. But now, Vlad wants to be a Mars himself. He hopes that he will make this era completely run away, and at that time, the government will no longer have the strength to maintain this increasingly chaotic world. And then, of course, whether the government wants it or not, the fate of this world will be decided by an earth-shattering war. There have never been many people staring at the government for more than 800 years. So Vlad would say to the elephant, "Let him be the man who brought dawn to the world." "Are you?" The elephant looked hesitant. "That's right." Vlad stood up. "It's me." "Why not?" Vlad's voice was full of power, low and high. "I don't think there's any reason why I can't. I am sure that I am the one who can bring change to the world." Quote. "Can I trust you?" There was a moment of silence, as the Lord said at last. "Bullshit." Vlad said, "Is there anyone else in the world who can do it besides me?" Vlad was very confident that another person could have done such a thing, but it was hard to say whether the Straw Hat could do such a thing after he came. "Then, it's agreed." Vlad heard the elephant say so. "That's it." Vlad smiled back. "Elephant Lord, get it done. Zo Crisis, get it done." Uncle Vlad really was invincible. Dash 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 dash. Back in time not long ago, the furry principality of Zo. Woo. Duke Inuarashi straightened up, with a lingering fear on his face. "Stop. Is it finally over?" The same performance was also presented by Duke Cat-Bellied Snake. The big cat also had a happy expression on his face. It seems that Vlad did not disappoint us. Of course. Duke Inuarashi turned to glance at his old nemesis, smiled, and said, "Of course he can. Even if we haven't been with him for a long time, the so-called trust will not be difficult to achieve because of the short time. Vlad has always belonged to the kind of person who can easily gain the goodwill of others and easily make people believe in him. This ability, it's really not easy. Since it has stopped, then." Duke Inuarashi said loudly, "Then don't be idle. This has just happened, we can't just stay like this." Inuarashi musket team assembled. So. Almost in the blink of an eye, black shadows gathered from all directions. As the subordinates of Duke Inuarashi, the Inuarashi musket team was definitely not weak. The earthquake caused by the elephant just now could not help them. "Go for it, children." Duke Inuarashi's eyes did not look very nervous. "The sudden disaster destroyed our homeland, so take action and do something for our home." Yes. In the blink of an eye, just like when they came before, these nimble fur tribes disappeared in front of Duke Inuarashi. "Knights, act for me too." Of course, the boss of the cat-bellied snake can't watch the show. "Go to the whale forest and show me a good look." Of course, the main place for disaster relief is still here. When the boss gave an order, of course his subordinates moved. Even Pedro, the right and left hand of the boss of the cat-bellied snake, was the same, and the rescue work after the disaster was immediately organized. In fact, the two bosses are not very worried. After all, the quality of the individual soldiers of the fur tribe is there. Such an earthquake is very destructive, but the damage to people is not that strong. So, this is what Vlad saw when he came back. Oh, it doesn't look like the damage is serious. The fiery figure cut through the sky and swept the wind. Vlad has returned to the furry principality. The original characteristic buildings have basically been plowed down, and the central position has probably been cleared out. But not very sad. Vlad heard a lot of laughter. Da. Vlad landed gently on the ground, and Duke Inuarashi, who had long seen him coming back, and the old cat-bellied snake, greeted him. Woo ha ha. Vlad said, follow the mission, it's all done. Thank you so much. Duke Inuarashi laughed like this, Vlad. Nice job. Quote. The boss of the cat-bellied snake walked over to Vlad very familiarly, and patted Vlad on the shoulder with his short hand, with a kitten-like happy expression on his hideous face. Fuck it. So beautiful, Vlad. It's okay. Vlad smiled. He knew that the alliance of the pirate elephant fur tribe was now achieved. We are friends. Chapter 349 Return Journey. Hey, now, what happened later? What happened after that? Looking forward to it, the girl's voice with eager urging is urging. The speaker was a rabbit with a small hat on its head, two tube-shaped ears that were floppy, and a furry face with a look of extreme anticipation. Vlad sat leisurely on the tree with his hands behind his head, closed his eyes, and enjoyed the warm sunshine in the afternoon. By the way, the rabbit talked about his glorious history. Later. Vlad opened his eyes with a look of reminiscence on his face. What happened after that? Rabbit, a member of the Inuarashi Musketeers, a little girl named Garrett has been completely drawn into the world Vlad's description. This little rabbit, who was wary of Vlad not long ago, has now been completely attracted by the adventures Vlad told about him, and has completely forgotten what kind of vigilance and rejection it was at that time. Of course, now Vlad is no longer a stranger, an intruder, an enemy, he is now the real savior of the country. The savior who has saved this country from the mad elephant master will undoubtedly be treated as the best friend by all the furry people who care about love and righteousness. Vlad is now playing in Zo. Characters, of course, will be welcomed, not to mention, Vlad has always been very good at communicating with people. It's really amazing. Vlad said so, telling a story to a little girl is really a good way to get closer to each other. Especially if the object of his story is someone like Garrett who has been on Elephant Island since he was born. There is nothing the knowledgeable little girl, just talking about her past adventures, has already stunned her for a while. Of course you won't understand if you haven't seen it with your own eyes. Vlad raised his eyebrows. That man's power is definitely on the level of a monster, can you imagine? Dozens of islands floating in the air. Island in the sky. Little Sister Garrett's eyes lit up. Is there still such a place in the sea? Well, of course, the huge island floating at a height of 10,000 meters is simply magnificent. Vlad said, Golden Lion Sr.'s Sky Island is his own ability to make them fly into the sky. I have seen a real island floating above the sea of clouds at a height of 10,000 meters, and there is this winged island on it. Angel. Are there really angels? The little bunny looked surprised. Of course, the sea is amazing. Let's go too far, let's continue talking about Senior Golden Lion. Vlad looked very serious. It's an amazing sight. He is the power of Paramesha's fluttering fruit, and he can even use islands to smash people, can you imagine? A huge island smashed directly at you. Come here. Oh. Garrett swallowed, obviously frightened. In addition to the swordsmanship that has surpassed 99% of the swordsmen on the sea, the strength of the Golden Lion Sr. is really no joke. Vlad said so. Strong swordsmanship. How strong is it? Sakata, who was sitting on the side wiping his sword, thought, how is it compared to the eagle eye of the #1 swordsman? As a swordsman, it is natural to be curious about swordsmen who also possess strong swordsmanship. But, even such a powerful Golden Lion Sr. was defeated by me. Vlad looked proud. Even for Vlad, defeating Golden Lion was a very proud thing. Of course, Golden Lion was a man on a par with Roger Whitebeard. Oh. Garrett clenched his fists with two small hands, looking very excited, as if she was the one who defeated the Golden Lion. It's really thrilling. The swordsmanship that can easily tear apart the earth, and even the ability to manipulate the air, has really brought me a lot of trouble. Vlad said this with the fear peculiar to a victor. It's amazing. Garrett's eyes were full of stars. That's amazing. Vlad. Ah ha ha ha, of course it is. Vlad laughed. Did you even beat that golden lion? Duke Inuarashi came over with a look of memory on his face. That's amazing. We also played against him back then. Following Captain Roger, he was really a very powerful guy. In the end, he almost defeated us. Now think about it, if it wasn't for that sudden storm at that time, maybe the world's history will change. Hey, don't say that, big dog. Vlad smiled. It's an indisputable fact that Roger won, even Senior Golden Lion admits it. Well, that's right, Captain Roger has never failed. Inuarashi nodded in agreement. By the way, Vlad, you want the phone bug. Inuarashi held out his hand, a tiny phone bug on his furry palm. Oh, thanks. Vlad took the phone bug and smiled. I haven't contacted my friends for a long time, maybe they are in a hurry. Don't worry your partner, Vlad. Inuarashi smiled. Woo ha ha. Vlad smiled and started dialing on the buttons on the back of the phone bug. It's a wonderful world that insects that are indistinguishable from a phone actually grow naturally. Blue blue blue. Quote. Click. Soon, the other side was connected, and the phone bug's appearance changed instantly. With a headdress on his head and a cigarette in his mouth, his expression was very reckless. Who is it? The woman over there said so. Oh, it's a maid. Long time no see. Vlad was suddenly moved when he heard a voice that he had not heard for a long time. Oh, isn't this the captain who ran away from home and refused to go home? There was an indescribable sarcasm in the maid's tone. What? Are you homesick? Yes. Vlad said bluntly, I really want to. Because I haven't seen you for a long time. Quote. Quote. Cut. The maid looked a little unhappy. Ahaha, I know, you miss me too. Maid. Vlad laughed, because it's been a long time. Think too much, my lord my captain. The maid looked dismissive, but it's true that you'd better come back soon. What? Vlad looked a little surprised. What happened? Well. Maid whispered, we found something very interesting on the moon. Oh, is it? Chapter 350 Changes in Sky Island. Sky Island, the legend of this place spread to the sea a long time ago, but there are very few people who can come to this place in person. After all, it is not easy to go to Sky Island. Even from the inherent route, only one person can survive among 100 people, and if someone wants to rely on the huge sky current to rush to Sky Island, there is absolutely no reason to survive. Unless, there is a superb navigator and some extraordinary crew on board. It is a pity that there are not many such sailors and such crews in the whole sea, and there are certainly fewer ships with such a configuration. Therefore, the number of people who can reach Sky Island is really pitiful. Sky Island has only had 2 waves of visitors over the past 20 years. One was the One Piece King of Pirates more than 20 years ago, the Roger Pirates led by Gul D. Roger, and the other, of course, is currently ruling Sky the pirates of the island, the Fire Dragon Pirates. It has been nearly 2 years since the Dragon Pirates occupied Sky Island. The people of Sky Island have long accepted this change and have almost forgotten the era when the god Enel ruled Sky Island not long ago, but there are no rebels. After all, no matter who is the ruler, their life must go on after all. No matter who is the ruler, as long as they can live, they will not have much opinion. Even in the era of the god Enel, they can live happily under such high-pressure rule. Now the Dragon Pirates, the regiment's rule can be said to be very loose, and it is basically self-governed by the Sky Islanders. Of course, these Sky Islanders have no idea of resistance. Sky Island in the era of the Dragon Pirates and the Sky Island before the Enel era is not that big. The residents of Sky Island live as before. If there are any significant changes, there are still some. Pumpkin juice. Pumpkin juice is on sale. Such shouts spread out in the White Town, the voice of a very young, very immature girl, full of vitality, and the voice of a girl full of vigor. Selling pumpkin juice. Fresh pumpkin juice. Come and buy it. On the bustling street, there is such a small stall with bottles of pumpkin juice, filled with a fresh sweetness. There was a little girl in front of the booth, very immature, with a bright smile on her face, 2 little hands on her lips, and she shouted loudly. At the back of the booth, there was an old man sitting, smiling and looking at the little girl in front of the booth, with a pipe in his mouth, looking very happy sitting on the small bench, watching the little girl shout. Things like pumpkins are rare in Sky Island. After all, such crops can only grow on the soil. The island cloud of Angel Island cannot do such a thing. In Sky Island, this is very rare. However, that is only the past. After all, the island of God is no longer exclusive to God. It is already the land of all Sky Islanders, so there is no problem with planting pumpkins. Yeah, Aisha. Such a sweet, very gentle woman's voice rang out with a bit of surprise. The speaker was a woman with a strange hairstyle similar to 2 small balls, and her sweet face was full of smiles. With a pair of wings behind it like all Sky Island people. Ah, Canis. The little girl named Aisha turned her head to look at the woman who was speaking and shouted. Really, Elsa, are you selling pumpkin juice again today? The woman named Canis said weakly, holding her forehead. Humph, Aisha is super strong. The little girl wiped her nose, stuck her waist, and lifted her little head back, with a proud expression on her little face. Half of the sales have been sold today. Oh, uncle. Canis sighed and said to the old man who was sitting at the back of the booth smoking, it's not good for a little girl to sell things. Hey. The old man showed a wretched smile. Well, little sister Canis, this is what little Aisha asked for herself. The little girl Elsa nodded swayingly and said, Elsa thinks selling pumpkin juice is very interesting. Aisha will make everyone in the realm of the gods drink Aisha's pumpkin juice. Very serious, full of boldness, but really belongs to a little girl's speech. Canis didn't know what to say. Cough, ha, okay Elsa. The disrespectful old man was choked by Aisha's sudden speech, and then laughed. This is not an easy goal. It has to work harder. Patriarch Grandpa. Elsa nodded her head. Elsa will work harder. Really? Canis said a little self-sacrificing ly, forget it, do whatever you want. Wapa. Elsa suddenly yelled in excitement. In the distance, the flow of people coming and going on the street was very tacitly separated. A group of people came over, headed by a tall man with a cannon on his back, a small bottle on his waist, and a large face on his face. He has a tattoo, a cigarette in his mouth. The man's name is Wapa, the current Sky Island God's Guard commander, and one of the highest powers in this white and white sea only under the Fire Dragon pirates. Hey, Wapa! Shouting like this, the little girl named Aisha waved her hands and ran towards Wapa with a big smile on her face. Wapa, quote. Of course, there was no reason why the man named Wapa couldn't hear about such business. Vivi turned his head to look at the little girl who ran over, ignored it, and continued to lead a group of people forward. Ha, Wapa. Very happy, the little girl didn't have any fear of this man in the past. She hugged Wapa's thigh and smiled, want to drink pumpkin juice. Quote. Wapa's face darkened as he heard the low laughter from the guys behind him. Aisha, I'm on patrol. The man said so. I know. Aisha's eyes were sparkling, and she started crawling on Wapa's body using both hands and feet. Aisha also wants to patrol with Wapa. Quote. Alas Tilda. Wapa was silent for a while, sighed weakly, bent down and picked up the little girl and placed it on his shoulders. Ha, patrolling. Ha laughed. The little girl named Aisha grabbed Wapa's hair and laughed happily. Ha. PFF'd. The veins on Wapa's forehead were sticking out, and the laughter of the guys behind was clearly audible. Today, Wapa also takes the God's Guard, which originally belonged to Shandia, to maintain the peace and tranquility of Sky Island. The biggest change in Sky Island is that Shandia and Sky Island people can finally live together in peace. Head sharply, Wepper, something's coming. What? Wapa never doubted what Elsa said. this little girl is a born observation hockey awakener. Tilde. A long roar spread throughout the sky, and a fiery figure soared from the sky. This. Wapa looked very surprised. So it is that Lord back? Chapter 351 Reunion. This is. The man named Sakata's eyes widened. Although he was born in the world's most powerful and magical sea, the New World, this man who was short-sighted because of Wanokuni's isolation and isolation was indeed stunned by the sight that appeared in front of him. Clouds, endless clouds. Of course, Yun Banshin has seen it, but now, he has never seen a cloud like the ocean. It's real, and it is really suitable to describe it as a sea of clouds. Who would have thought that in the air far away from the ground, is there such a magical place? At least, Sakata didn't think of it, but there is no doubt that there is such a sea of clouds under them now. The galloping figure pierced the sky, and the fierce wind caused ripples after waves on the Beibaihi Sea. This is Beibaihi. The huge fire dragon said this. The sound was so loud that Sakata's ears hurt. Since Vlad made a phone call with the maid, who had not been on the scene for a long time, after learning that his friends found something on the moon, Vlad made a phone call. Rad immediately grabbed Sakata and embarked on the return journey. It was a real grasp, which means grasping with his claws. Vlad turned into a giant dragon, grabbed his little friend and flew all the way from the New World back to paradise. Even at Vlad's super-fast speed, when he saw the Beibaihi floating 10,000 meters above the sea again, it had been a whole week since he bid farewell to the passionate fur tribe. After all, he is also human. It is also necessary to eat and drink lizard, and there is still a lot of delay in the middle. A dreamy sea that floats 10,000 meters above the sea. Vlad said, "How is it?" "Stunning. The world is truly amazing." Sure enough, the more I follow this man on the sea, the more I understand how wise it was to make such a decision at the beginning. Just like what the teacher said, I am looking forward to the next adventure more and more. Yeah. Sakata nodded slightly. Ah. Vlad laughed. Let's go. Go and meet your seniors. Flamethrowers. There. The flames spewed, and the huge fire dragon was turning into a red meteor, rushing towards the distance. Dash. Sky Island, the island of the gods, was a forbidden place for all Sky Islanders in the Enel era, and it was also the ancestral land that Shandia wanted to recapture. Now it is open to all Sky Islanders. The Fire Dragon Pirates, of course, a group of people will not regard a mere island with land as anything precious. Although almost the entire island of the gods is already open, there is only one place that is not open to the public, and that is the residence of the Fire Dragon Pirates. An area above the huge vines has been transformed and built into the shrine in the mouth of the residence of Sky Island. Belong to the palace of the gods. It's not that majestic, or even a humble shrine. There is only one place in the shrine that is absolutely enough for the title of shrine. That is the training ground behind the shrine. It's really big enough. In Rad's previous life, it would have been about the size of 7 or 8 football fields. Although it was already huge, for the powerhouses in the sea, such a size could be regarded as a warm-up. Bang! With a loud noise, a figure flew back upside down and fell heavily to the ground. The strong impact made him slide on the ground for a long time. Hey! A muffled sound came out of his mouth unconsciously. The man shook his head. The severely hit head was a little awake. Blood slid from the corner of his eyes, and the scene in front of him seemed to be spinning. Hey, is this okay? A woman's voice full of sarcasm came from the front. Luo, you're just like this. Do you want to seek revenge on Doflamingo at this level? Aren't you thinking too much? The man's name is Trafalgar Luo, the ship doctor of the Fire Dragon Pirates, and is currently practicing hockey following the efforts of the seniors of the pirates. Room. Quote. The translucent spherical space expanded in an instant, but in an instant, it was all wrapped up in it. Who? The woman with a cigarette in her mouth smiled, with a light-hearted look. Of course, it goes without saying that she is the maid of the Fire Dragon Pirates. Scoff. Luo directly disappeared in place out of thin air, saying that the power of the fruit was indeed too buggy. Cardiac shock. In an instant, Luo's body appeared behind the maid's back, 2 hands stretched out, thumbs up, the remaining 4 fingers clenched into fists, almost green lightning flashes on his hands, a genuine electric current. If the move can hit, it is not impossible to scorch the human body. Hey, how naive, Luo. Scoff. With such a mockery, the maid didn't move, flames spewed out from the soles of her feet, and the whole person flew into the sky in the blink of an eye, easily avoiding Luo's attack. Woo. Well. The maid's face suddenly flashed a surprised look. Luo was like a maggot in the Tarsus, and had already appeared behind her. Even though the maid's speed was fast, it was still slightly inferior to Luo's teleportation. The hands wrapped in green electric light were almost on the maid's body. Om. Armed. The maid shouted, and the pitch-black hockey instantly covered the maid's back, like a layer of the strongest armor. Crackling. Lightning overflows. Hey. With a smile on the maid's face, the power is not enough. It seems that Luo's blow is still not enough to break the maid's hockey defense. Huh. Luo did not look disappointed at all, and once again disappeared in front of the maid. Well. The maid raised her head in surprise. Luo's shadow had already covered her. He had appeared above the maid's head, and he had already held his saber in his hand, a famous sword with a pitch-black blade, Ghost Cry. Invisible waves undulating above. This is Luo's armament hockey, although it only stops at the level of entanglement, but it is indeed a genuine hockey. After that, green electric light begins to jump on the blade. High-frequency scalpel. A blow with terrifying power slashed directly at the maid. Well. The maid was shocked, and then put on a somewhat excited expression on her face. Are you finally back? Burning cannon. There. Before Luo's attack came, the surging flames roared directly from the top of the maid's head. The weapon fruit is the fruit that can transform into weapons in various parts of the body. The scorching fire pillar reaches the sky. I don't know how far into the sky. Scoff. Who? Luo's figure appeared on the ground beside him, panting heavily, obviously not suffering any damage, but the fruit of the operation is indeed a fruit that consumes a lot of physical strength. Woo ha 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 ha. At this time, wild laughter came from above. Long time no see, Miss Maid. Dash 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 dash. Ask for subscription, recommendation, monthly pass, reward, I will die without it. Chapter 352 Achievement. Woo. The fiery red dragon descended from the sky, and its strong and powerful wings flapped, creating an amazing wind force. The dust on this training ground would blow into the sky, and it looked like a gray fog had fallen. Hey, long time no see, Miss Maid. Vlad threw it casually and threw Sakata out of his hand, and then the fiery red dragon began to shrink, and in the blink of an eye it returned to its human form. The maid and Luo had not seen Vlad's face for a long time. In front of them. Da. Sakata turned over gently and landed on the ground. His left hand was unconsciously placed on the chrysanthemum character on his waist. His eyes seemed to be casual, but he looked around curiously. For him, such a place was really a blessing. It's amazing. Especially, Neat. How shameless. Is this what a woman should wear? Sakata looked at the maid girl, baby 5, who was wearing a maid outfit, and her face turned a little red. She forcibly turned her face away, but she couldn't help but stare at the maid's body. No. Ah ha ha ha. Vlad laughed, no change at all. Maid. How do you want me to change? Corner of the maid's mouth twitched. My captain. Hey, oh, doctor, long time no see. Vlad smiled and turned to see Mr. Ship Doctor, who was panting. It looks much better than before. It's not that Vlad was joking. Before, Luo was at the level of being killed by the normal Doflamingo, and the maid could not wake up. Doflamingo was comparable, but now, Luo can entangle with the maid for so long, which is really a great improvement. It's big, especially in terms of his physical strength. Although it's a little far away, Vlad can also see it. Have you learned hockey? Vlad smiled. It's amazing. I've been able to use hockey proficiently in just a few months. It's not easy. Long time no see, Mr. Captain. Although his physical strength was a bit overdrawn and his body was still a little injured, this man had a smile on his face. He enjoyed this feeling very much, and his strength increased little by little. This kind of feeling is really not bad. It's still a long way off. The maid lit another cigarette for herself, blew a smoke ring lightly, and mocked, I can't even harden it, it's still a long way off. Don't be so harsh, maid. Vlad smiled and patted his first partner on the shoulder. You were not as good as a doctor back then. Cut. The maid was very upset, but she couldn't refute it. After all, she was taught by Vlad himself at that time, and the result was slightly inferior to Luo's progress. You tilde tilde. A long roar came from the side, and the big white dog ran towards this side with a little girl. Mr. Vlad. The voice of a very excited woman, with joyful laughter, is naturally not someone else. Of course, another female member of the Fire Dragon Pirates besides the maid, the musician Miss Serena. Oh oh oh. Vlad opened his hands and gently embraced the girl who rushed over to his arms. Don't get excited. Serena. Hey, what a long time no see. Asshole. The woman raised her head abruptly, with an evil smile on her face. Obviously, another person's personality was online. Oh tilde, that's not bad. Vlad gently pushed Serena away and looked at the big dog that was carrying her. No, it should be a wolf. The fur is pure white, and the ferocious fangs hang quietly in the mouth with saliva. It is a big wolf that is close to a person's height. If it is used as a mount, it is indeed very fashionable. I didn't expect this guy to have a good relationship with Serena-san. Vlad looked a little surprised. Of course he knew this wolf, or, in other words, he created it himself. This wolf itself is not a wolf, but a robot. This guy was Vegapunk who was looking for Vegapunk before. The enchanted robot. Coincidentally, that devil fruit is a zone devil fruit, in the form of a canine fruit, a dire wolf, so such a handsome wolf was born, and now it seems that Serena has conquered it. Of course it is. Serena looked very proud. Xiaobai and Miss Ben have a very good relationship. That's good. Vlad nodded. It would be nice to have this wolf with you. By the way, let me introduce you. Vlad pointed at the blushing samurai standing aside with a finger, and said, this is our new partner, Samurai, as I said before. Yes, a very reliable fellow. Hello, Mr. Sakata. Luo took the lead in nodding towards Sakata friendly. My name is Luo, the ship doctor of the Fire Dragon Pirates. Okay. Vlad waved his hand. We'll talk about greetings later. Who else is there? Of course the autistic man has nothing else to do. He is still in his laboratory. We haven't seen him for almost a month. The maid said. Paso. Vlad felt the same way. The man seemed to be disinterested in things other than research. And what about the results? Results. Maid smiled and said, is it an achievement that everyone in Sky Island, God's guard is accompanied by a small bottle of fortified gummies? Really? Vlad looked overjoyed. Really? Of course. The maid sighed sincerely. I also have to admit, what a great guy. Ah ha ha ha. Of course, Paso is our partner. Vlad smiled. Jean Core, haha, awesome. And what about the others? Enel, the chef and Beppo have gone to the moon. Didn't you say you want to make more robots, Captain? Maid replied, it's estimated that I won't be back in 2 days. Oh, so how much is in stock now? Vlad smiled. It is really cool to have a robot core. Well, although this can only be a delusion because of the core problem, it is moving just by looking at it. 10,000. The maid said. So few. Vlad was a little dissatisfied. Not a lot, sir, my captain. Maid rolled her eyes. There is only one production line. Besides, No matter how much production we have, we won't be able to use it. Yeah. Vlad also looked a little distressed. He finally got a robot production line, but it could only be used for figurines. As the backup body of the dragon-tooth soldier, it was unpleasant enough. How annoying. I really want to build a real robot army. Maybe, it's not impossible. The maid suddenly said. What? Vlad was a little surprised. Didn't I tell you? The maid said. We found something amazing on the moon. Mobile users please visit Reading for a better reading experience. Chapter 353 Robot. Is it here? Vlad followed the maid to a room in the shrine, looked at the locked door, and said so. Well, it's here. The maid didn't take out the key, but just stretched out her finger. The slender index finger quickly began to deform, and it turned into a key in the blink of an eye. Hey, can you do something like this? Vlad looked surprised. Who says keys can't stab people? The maid's mouth twitched and said so. Well, it makes sense. Vlad grinned. Click. Squeak. The maid gently opened the door, and with a harsh sound, the door was pushed open, and there was no light inside, it was very dim. At the time, no one thought. The maid got out of the way and let Vlad in. Something like this would suddenly appear on the moon. Everyone was taken aback. When Enel brought these things back, I was a little stunned. Really? Vlad walked in and smiled. Then you're a little timid, and you still need to keep practicing. Me. The house is not big, so Vlad clearly saw a few objects thrown in the corner just after going in. His face was filled with surprise. Is this really what you found on the moon? Yes. Maid nodded. It was indeed found on the moon. But that's not surprising, is it? Vlad said. Isn't it normal for these guys to be found on the moon? Or should it be strange that they were found outside the moon? What appeared in front of Vlad was not anything else, but 4 robots. Although they were wearing various armors, in terms of appearance, they were almost the same as the robots Vlad found on the moon, and they looked extremely close. That's why Vlad said that finding these things on the moon is really not a big deal. The size of the moon is not small, and it is normal to have robots that they have not found. No, Captain. The maid said so, took 2 steps forward, and kicked one of the robots. Take a good look, they are different from the robots we found. Hey! A scream came from the robot who was kicked by the maid. It's you again. It's this horrible woman again. As if waking up from sleep, the other robots also began to speak instantly. Let us go, you bastard woman. We will avenge Grandpa's revenge sooner or later. You wait for me. Vlad clearly heard these robots talking. That's the difference. The maid paid no attention to the robot's screams and said, Captain, these guys are different from all our robots. It's different, of course it's different. Vlad can notice that these robots are different even if he is casual. These guys are wise, and what's even scarier is that they have feelings. Will you feel pain, will be afraid, will be angry, will be sad for your partner, or even take revenge for others? Such technology is really terrifying. Apart from the fact that the body is a machine, what is the difference between these guys and humans? Are these guys still robots? Vlad's mind flashed, and he suddenly remembered something. These guys, he suddenly had an impression. He suddenly found that these guys appeared in the original story. It is very interesting that these robots that look exactly the same as the robots made by the ancient moon people are indeed not the creation of the moon people. In the original story, these guys ran from the sea to the moon. Although it is a bit unbelievable, it is true. Then these guys who came to the moon encountered space pirates, and they did not have much outstanding combat power. Several robots were undoubtedly hanged and beaten. After that, a very dramatic thing happened. These guys met Enel, who came to the Infinite Land. Of course, Enel, who has taken the moon as his territory, can't stand the space pirates doing things on his territory. The guy immediately killed the space pirates, and then these robots became Enel's subordinates. This is the trajectory of the original story, but with Vlad's intervention, it stands to reason that the original development has long since changed beyond recognition. However, the Enel guys still encountered these robots on the moon, and I have to say, this is fate. Vlad knew that the makers of these guys were not ancient lunar men, but modern Blue Sea people, an unknown scientist on the Blue Sea, an old man who made these robots. What a horrible technology. Maybe even this aspect of Vegapunk is just that. Vlad is very interested in that old man, isn't this nonsense? Just when Vlad was worried that he had made so many redundant robot bodies and it was useless, a robot with a core was sent to the door immediately. As long as the old man was found, the core or something would be fine, right? Of course, according to the original trajectory, the reason why these robots will go to the moon is because the sudden explosion on the moon made the old man choked to death by the dumplings, which is also an amazing way to die, and then these guys rely on balloons to fly to the moon like this. Who dares to believe it? However, this is indeed the case. So, the old man should be dead too, right? After all, these guys are here to avenge that old man. Hey, you guys. Vlad smiled and squatted down. Are you here for revenge? Your people killed Grandpa, we must avenge Grandpa. Although they have wisdom and feelings, it does not mean that these robots have high IQ. Avenge Grandpa, are you gourd babies? Vlad thought so, then laughed. I don't remember when we hurt your grandpa. You guys have the wrong person. How is it possible? The robot looked very indignant. Grandpa was choked to death because he was frightened by the explosion on the moon. Who else will be on the moon besides you? Still choked to death. It's also very chic. Oh. Vlad smiled. You're wrong about that. Before we got to the moon, there was already a group of people on it. They were violently digging up the ruins on the moon. I'm afraid they are your enemies, aren't they? Is that so? The robot looks amazing. Yes. Vlad nodded, but we have already dealt with them, so it can be regarded as revenge for you. Very surprised, really. Although it is a robot, there are tears flowing out of its eyes. Thank you so much. Wow, no. Super simple. I'm embarrassed to fool them. There is a strong sense of guilt. Hey, were you made by your grandfather? Grandpa is amazing. Talk like a child. Oh, is it? Vlad smiled. I'm curious about your grandpa. Chapter 354 Month C. West Blue is a sea area that Vlad has never set foot on. Vlad has never been to this sea area. Like North Blue, this is also a very strong sea area. There are many people here, and there are many strong seas in the sea. The most famous one is probably one of the 4 emperors who now dominate the New World, the red-haired Shanks. The man's hometown is also West Blue. X23 US. Com updates fastest. This is the first time Vlad has come to this sea area. From today, among the major sea areas in the world, only South Blue has not been visited by Vlad. There is no reason to go there yet, and maybe go there sooner or later. This time, Vlad did not act alone. After a few months, the Fire Dragon pirates finally arrived in full and dispatched together, riding Vlad's precious ship, the Platinum D-Drag, and it didn't take long. At the same time, the Fire Dragon gang has come to West Blue from Sky Island. The goal of this voyage is the home of the guy named Dr. Tsukimi who created those robots with emotions. It's dead, but after all, there's something left over there, right? Even the most powerful scientists will have experimental data, right? There's no reason to create such a powerful robot just based on this brain hole, right? There is no reason to do any experiments, just do it directly. As long as the experiment is done, there will always be experimental data, which is a matter of course. Then, the old man died too hastily. I am afraid there is no time to clean up the data, and these robots flew to the moon in balloons after dealing with the old man's funeral. The information is still lying in that old man's laboratory honestly. If no one messes with it. On the Platinum D-Drag, Vlad sat on the bow of the long-lost ship, laughing haha, hey, it's very close, isn't it? That moon-seeing island. Yeah. Lying on the side of the ship, because the body is not tall enough, the robot that sticks its head up forcibly nodded, it's just ahead. Tsukishima Island. In fact, without the robot saying it himself, Vlad has also seen the small island that has appeared in his sight. It is not big, but it looks very peaceful and peaceful. Not very famous island. According to these robots, Dr. Eugen is very famous on this island, so this island is named after him, but it is not famous at all outside this island, I have to say, is indeed a very low-key grandpa. Captain. Crack. Light flashed, and a man named Enel had appeared behind Vlad. Is it necessary for everyone to come? Well, long-lost collective activity. Vlad said, stop being self-conscious. Yeah haha, I don't have any opinion. Enel laughed, he really didn't have any opinions, and there were other people who had opinions. Is that guy still sleeping? Vlad also had some headaches. Well. The one who spoke was the chef who came out of the cabin, Mr. Dino, who had been missing for a long time. He smiled. Paso looks very dissatisfied. Oh, it's going to get moldy if you stay in the lab all the time. Vlad said, it's better to let him come out and get some air. I'm afraid that one day I will see his body in the laboratory. Ha ha ha, too. The chef laughed. The man named Paso is a very good technical nerd. From his ability to make fortified fudge, and even to the extent that it has become popular now, it is not only available to people who have undergone genetic modification like him. Although the number and strength are still far from his own, but it is also very powerful. However, the fact that he is an otaku can't get rid of the fact that he is a nerd even though the technical Jai is so powerful. Any Jai is very resistant to going out, let alone a long trip across the red soil continent like now. That guy is still lying in the cabin and refuses to live or die. Get up and fight. Vlad silently. Go down. Vlad said so, it has come to the ground. Hey bear. Vlad shouted so loudly, falling down. Beppo was a very good navigator, and Vlad admired him so much that he now steers the ship, the Platinum Drag. Oh. The energetic response can be heard clearly even through several layers of walls. There is hardly any shaking, and the ship has already started to descend. Although this guy Babo is not good at fighting, he is still very good at the helm. What's that? Tsukimi Island is one of the islands with no sense of existence in West Blue. On the one hand, it is very close to the island where Marine Base is located. Basically, there will be no pirates who come to find death, but on the other hand, this island is also very close. There are no special products, and the population is not large. It has never been taken seriously by the government and marine, and there is no garrison. The residents of the island are also accustomed to this kind of peaceful life. Although they are not wealthy, they are still living happily. This is something that many people on the sea long for but cannot get. Today, however, a sudden change has occurred. Something fell from the sky. Not all villagers are blind, and there are always people who will look up. Of course, the Platinum D-Drag will not be invisible, and of course it will be seen. What? So, naturally, it immediately attracted more attention. Yes, is it a boat? Is it a boat? Someone recognized what had fallen. Good, good, what a big ship. The volume of the Platinum Drag is really big in West Blue, and ordinary ships will not have such a volume. What is this? There is actually a ship that can fly in the sky. Falling down. The boat has fallen. Run away. After such shouting, the villagers screamed and scattered. In fact, the speed of the Platinum D-Drag's fall was not really fast, and it was not a fall at all. However, for the villagers, which is not bad. Well, is it here? Vlad stood up. The boat had stopped descending. There was no place to park it on this island. Let's just fly in the sky honestly. Yeah, that's it. The robot held by Vlad's hand pointed to a house below and said with a nostalgic tone. Very good. Vlad smiled. Let's go then. Let's go. Fire Dragon Pirates. Oh 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 oh. The answer resounded through the sky. Chapter 355 Come looking for something. Oh, it's here. Vlad's eyes seemed to light up, and behind him, the dragon pirates assembled for the first time since the last time they parted. The firepower served as the maid Baby 5, the perfect chef Dino, the musician Serena and her dog the dog, Enel, a boatman who has gradually become qualified, looks like the biologist Paso who has not woken up, the ship Dr. Luo and the pet part-time navigator on the ship, the helmsman Beppo, and the last new addition. The members, the swordsman, the lecherous samurai Sakata, and the dragon pirates are here. The group of fire dragon pirates stood outside a house. It was quite a big house. It was similar to Wano-kuni's architectural style. Vlad didn't care much about the wooden building. Just kidding, Marine headquarters. The style is the same, the world is amazing. Well, our home is here. The robot following Vlad suddenly burst into tears. It's a very emotional robot. In this regard, many humans are not as good as him, and not everyone can cry easily. Wow, then let's go. Vlad took the lead and pushed open the door. The door bolt could only whine weakly in the face of Vlad's huge power, and it broke directly, and the door opened instantly. Is exposed as a courtyard similar to the one that Vlad saw in Kazuki Odin's house, perhaps in a Japanese-style architectural style. So, robot brother. Vlad said, now take us to your grandpa's lab. Huh, are you going there? The robot looks hesitant. Although it is not very witty, he also knows that the research results of his grandfather cannot be exposed casually. However, it is said that he is not very witty. Well, I want to go and see. Vlad has a feeling of bullying the mentally retarded. Although he feels a little guilty, the feeling of teasing children like this can be described in one word: cool. That great scientist shouldn't be so anonymous. He can create an excellent robot like you. What a formidable person. I want to look at the laboratory of such a great scientist, want to see how he made such a powerful robot like you. Yes, is that so? The robot looks dumb. Of course. Vlad had the most sincere expression on his face, of course. Mr. Vlad, you are such a good man. That said, the robot took the lead. Come with me. I'll take you to Grandpa's lab. Ah, unexpected simplicity. The chef smiled. Mr. Vlad deceived him all over the place. Serena looked happy. It's funny. What's so interesting, is it a sense of accomplishment to bully an intellectually disabled robot like this? How is this different from bullying a child? Why are you still happy about something like this? Sakata is a newcomer to the Fire Dragon Pirates, and the tacit understanding with his partners has not been developed very much. The man with the dead fisheye is turbulent at the moment. So, why is there such a thing as a robot? Still such a human-like robot. No one thinks it is so scary. Am I too special? Sakata was unexpectedly afraid of intelligent existence like robots. Let me go back. Mr. Paso continued to indulge in his own world, muttering to himself, I'm going to die without the experiment. It's here. Maybe Dr. Eugen really has a detached reputation on this island. It has been empty for so long, but he has not been violated a little bit. The robot led Vlad around and through the room. I brought a few people to the door of a basement. It is a metal door. It looks completely different from the wooden buildings outside. It looks like it is full of dust. At a glance, you can see that no one has come to clean it for a while. This is normal. Dr. Eugen has no family. Or that only those 4 robots are his family. After the robot left and decided to avenge him, the place was naturally empty. Well, it's here. Vlad's eyes lit up. Yeah. The robot took out a key from its armor, and stuck the key into the door. Click. With a soft sound, the robot gently pushed the door open. The door of this seemingly unremarkable laboratory, but in fact it was hiding an extremely amazing secret, was pushed open, and a rotten smell came out from inside. Crack. I don't know where the robot is, and the dark laboratory lights up instantly. The robot looked very proud. This is where we were born. Grandpa made us here. Really? Vlad walked in with a smile. It's amazing. It's amazing. A very large laboratory. The walls seem to be made of metal. Although it is large, it does not look empty. Many machines that Vlad can't understand are scattered in it, but Vlad doesn't care now. These robots, what he cares more about is the books and documents scattered on several bookshelves in the corners and the books and documents scattered on the ground. This is the most valuable thing. Oh, come, let me see. Vlad walked to the front of the bookshelf, took a book from the top at random, opened it, and saw the obvious hand-painted structural diagram, plus a brief explanation next to it. I don't understand it at all. Vlad realized once again that he was just a scumbag. He changed several books and materials in a row, but the result was the same. These things were completely incomprehensible, not to mention, these things were written by Dr. Eugen himself. Is very brief, after all, it is written for myself, and Vlad is even more confused. Well, but, although he didn't understand it very well, Vlad was also satisfied. It seems that our robot army will be realized soon. Yes, the information is very complete. It seems that Dr. Eugen is really old and his memory is not very good. The entire manufacturing process is recorded, especially the core part of the robot, which saves Vlad a lot of effort. It's just that the more you look, the more you will feel that Dr. Tsukimami's robot is really similar to that of Lunar Man. Well. Hello, Captain. Like Vlad, the maid who was flipping through the bookshelf on the other side suddenly said, "There's a big discovery. Dash 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 dash. Hey, are those people pirates? Look at the pirate flag on the boat." Watching Vlad and his party walk into Dr. Eugen's house, the frightened villagers quietly raised their heads. Is it for Dr. Tsukimi's research? What a bunch of nasty pirates. No, you can't watch Dr. Tsukimi's research be stolen. Finally, someone said, "Notify Marine. Notify Colonel Jack." Chapter 356 We Were Deceived. Hey, Captain, come and see. The maid raised the small book in her hand and said with a smile, "See Dr. Yu's diary." Oh. Vlad smiled. Really, that would be interesting. Vlad is very interested in the past of Dr. Eugen. Of course, you don't need to think about it at all. You should know that Dr. Eugen is related to the blank 100 years, it is really obvious. X23 US. Com updates fastest. After all, apart from intelligence and emotion, the robots made by Dr. Eugen are basically the same as the robots made on the moon more than 800 years ago, especially the appearance, which is exactly the same. There is no difference at all. Isn't this kind of thing obvious? Obviously, as Vlad said before, the ancient moon people did come to the Blue Sea, and one of them stayed on the Sky Island. I don't know why they did not inherit the extremely developed technology of the moon people, and gradually forget the history, that is, the people of Sky Island now. Obviously, the other lunar people came to the sea, and their technology will inevitably bring great changes to the world. But it is not known what such changes are, because the blank 100 years hides everything. However, even if the government's blockade is tight, there will always be such fish slipping through the net, right? Vlad believes that Dr. Eugen is the heir to lunar technology. At least, he is also the successor of robots. This is already obvious. Why is Dr. Eugen called Eugen? The name itself is very meaningful. What? Therefore, Vlad was very curious. Are there any few words related to things 800 years ago in Dr. Moonshine's diary? With such doubts, Vlad opened Dr. Eugen's diary, which was not much, only a few pages. The day I was born. It's a very straightforward name, one that you don't even have to think about. I have a family. This is the first sentence of the opening chapter. The handwriting is a bit scribbled. It seems that the doctor was a little excited when he wrote this sentence. It seemed that he was really excited, so he wanted to record it and express it. They've been longing for decades, and finally, after more than 10 years of research, I finally have a family. Although I made it myself, it's not bad, right? Ha ha ha. Hey tilde old pervert, Because you've been single for too long, do you want to be a girlfriend by yourself? Tech nerds are scary. Vlad suddenly felt envious. Such a self-sufficient guy is really enviable, isn't it? Just squeeze one out of whatever type you want. This ability is comparable to the goddess Nua. However, of course, Dr. Tsukimami won't do some inexplicable things like Vlad thought. What he is looking for is a genuine family. The technology of the ancient people at the beginning can only make robots with simple thinking, no feelings, and almost no difference from cold furniture. Ancient people. Vlad nodded knowingly, that is to say, the Dr. Moonseeing did not know that the technology he obtained came from the moon people. Well, it's normal, not everyone knows about the existence of lunar men. Speaking of the ancients are really amazing. It was as early as hundreds of years ago that they had the technology to create robots of this level. It is really amazing. I am afraid that even Vegapunk got a lot of inspiration from the ancients' technology. Right. Otherwise, that guy has no reason to be so powerful. Yep. What? Vlad looked a little surprised. With such a tone, could it be that this Dr. Eugen actually knew Vegapunk? This is a bit interesting, or, this Dr. Eugen used to be a government person. No, if it is true, then how can this old man who can create a robot with emotions can live the rest of his life on this island, and the government will of course not let him go. So, what is the relationship between the two? I don't understand. But such a fighting robot is not what I want. Vlad continued to read the old grandpa's diary. What I want is to be able to accompany my family. These robots are not qualified. So I started a research that lasted for more than 10 years. Then, today, I finally improved the core of the robots designed by these ancient people, and through my special learning system, the robots I made have the ability to learn like humans. Learning ability. Vlad raised his eyebrows. Just by looking at it, he would subconsciously feel that it was a great ability, that is to say. It's really a very powerful force. It is indeed a technology that took me more than 10 years to complete. If this new core is used, even a robot can have the ability to learn like a human child. To be able to learn languages, learn movements, learn culture, and learn emotions like a human being. Ha ha ha, I'm such a genius. Yes, really genius, this old man. Vlad's eyes were a little dark. This old man really did something extraordinary. I saw those robots before and thought they were very special, but I didn't expect it to be so special. Combined with the sensing device taken from the old ghost Vegapunk, the robots born this time are really no different from humans. They will feel touch, feel pain, be happy, and even cry. Ha ha ha, have I created a new creature? I don't know if I don't see it, but it really scared Vlad when I saw it. This old man is really amazing. Fortunately, the fire dragon pirates came and it was Vlad. If other people got these materials, what would happen if they really mass-produced these robots? Vlad was no short-sighted native. What if these robots that can learn, move, and laugh really reach a certain scale? When their racial consciousness awakens, will the contradiction between carbon-based life and silicon-based life be inevitable? These robots and the demihuman races on the sea are two completely different concepts. Vlad is not going to make such a highly intelligent robot. All he wants is a cheap and high-quality cannon fodder army. As long as he is obedient, he just smiled at the results of Dr. Eugen. Ha 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 ha, bringing all this together, I said that the family I was looking forward to is finally born. I named him Blake, and finally the days of being alone are over. What an old man who is afraid of loneliness. Vlad exclaimed, so why didn't you get a few girlfriends when you were young? Do you have to wait until you are old to sigh about being alone, and then do it yourself? I really thank that guy Vegapunk. If it weren't for the sensor system he shared with me, I would only be able to make iron blocks with a heart, right? It's still a long way from being human. Well, there are ancient people, these guys are really amazing. But I don't know what happened in that blank 100 years, so that all the technology was buried. Vlad's eyes widened suddenly. So, on the information I got, what does it mean that the ancients wrote that we were deceived? Chapter 257 Huge Kingdom. We were deceived. Vlad stared blankly at the words on the diary, very confused. X23 US. Com updates fastest. We were deceived. Vlad's attention was instantly attracted. What did he see? Is it wrong? Is it a hallucination? I looked at this diary in order to see if there were any missing reasons, and it turned out that I really saw something amazing. Is there any luck? What's the meaning? Being deceived. The ancients, the moon people, said they were deceived. Who deceived them? When is it? Being deceived for what? What have they been tricked into doing? What happened after they got to the blue sea? Just a short sentence has already brought huge doubts to Vlad. It is not that Vlad attaches too much importance to it, it is just because the moon people are really too important, and their technology can easily be used even now. There were huge waves on the sea, not to mention that it was more than 800 years ago when they arrived. At that time, watching blue sea people might really feel like modern people watching primitive people. This matter is related to the blank 100 years and cannot be ignored by Vlad. Hey guys, don't stand still. Vlad closed Dr. Eugene's diary, which is no longer there. Dr. Eugene doesn't seem to have a good habit of taking notes. The above things are probably just because he was very excited to create a robot, so he wanted to record it. Help me collect all this information, don't waste anything. Vlad said so. Okay, Captain. The chef has always listened to Vlad's words. Hearing Vlad's words, he walked to the front of a bookshelf and started loading things. Place, how can I not take everything away? Watch out. Vlad said, there may be relics of ancient lunar men in these materials. Let me know if you see it. I am very curious now. Yes. Is it this? With a thick stack of paper in her hand, Serena San said this for a while. Well. Vlad was a little stunned. It seems to be a rubbing. Serena said this, although her profession is a musician, this woman is one of the most educated people in the Fire Dragon Pirates. She received an elite education from a rich dad since she was a child, and Vlad, who was born in the Den of Thieves, the maid, Luo, Beppo, Enel from Sky Island, and Sakata from Wano Kuni are qualitatively different. They are very good at appreciating, and it can be seen at a glance that this stack of paper is a rubbing. Really? That's amazing, Serena. Vlad took the stack of texts from Serena's hands in anticipation, and praised them casually. Ha ha ha. Serena patted her head, looking a little shy. No, Mr. Vlad is the best. No, it's really amazing. Vlad couldn't wait to open the paper and praised. Don't do that. Isn't that of course? The expression on Serena's face, who was still trying to make a few words of humility, suddenly turned to one side, her eyes suddenly hanged up, her weak temperament suddenly became fierce, and she laughed. Of course, my mother is very powerful. Yes. Vlad opened the stack of papers, and the beginning was the design drawings of the robot plus various parameters. Needless to say, it was something that Vlad could not understand. Fortunately, Vlad's the goal of the trip. The core part of the robot also has drawings, which is very good, and even better, there is even information about the production line that produces this robot. Just find a guy with a decent mechanical level who wants to build it. Is not difficult to have a production line that can produce robots. The robot army that Vlad longed for was no longer out of reach. But these things that would have made Vlad happy just a few minutes ago can only make Vlad a little irritable. Why are they all blueprints? Vlad thinks so now. The thick stack of paper was quickly turned to the end. Obviously, it is not only the two technologies of robots and production lines that are recorded on it, but these two technologies are still clear. The technology can no longer be seen clearly. It seems that there is a gap in the rubbing of Dr. Eugene at that time. Then, finally, Vlad turned to the most valuable technology. Finally, it is not the missing technology, but a few words. There are only a few words in total. This is what Vlad wants to see. Something about history, something about the ultimate secret of this world. Is no different from the text that is currently used in the Blue Sea, but there are still some small differences in writing habits. Vlad used to see the relics of the lunar people on the moon, the underground city burqa, and the memory. In comparison, those words are very close. We were deceived. The beginning is such a sentence, which is the text that I saw on Dr. Eugene's diary before. Vlad's eyes were full of excitement, and then his eyes went down, swept a large blank, and saw second sentence. Expected. Not. Our. Country. What the hell? Vlad frowned. What is this series of things? What's missing is so great that you can't see anything, okay. What to expect? Is there something wrong? Which country? I don't understand it at all. Asshole. We've been deceived. The promise. The power is not, as promised, this country. We, the world, the enemy. We did something wrong. Then finally a complete and clear sentence. Did we do something wrong? What's wrong? Are you saying that you did something wrong under someone else's deception? Vlad can only guess like this. Of course, it is impossible not to communicate with people when the moon is on the blue sea. It is true that they have strong technological strength, but there is never a shortage of various monsters on the blue sea sand. Yes, the lunar man would not want to communicate with them. So are they deceived in this kind of communication? And then did something wrong. So, who was deceived and what was wrong? It's puzzling. Then, the last sentence came, which was also not very complete, but it made Vlad's pupils shrink suddenly. Our gigantic kingdom crumbles. Hey, what did I see? Am I dazzled? Vlad said, the huge kingdom. Dash. Built a fan team called Dragon Army. Those who don't have a team, go and see it. Chapter 358 Mysteries and People. What is a giant kingdom? Although Vlad is not very clear, he also has a little understanding. It also comes from the cognition of the previous life. According to legend, 800 years ago, in the history that was erased by the government, the blank 100 years ago. There is such a huge kingdom in China, but no one knows what this kingdom looks like, and of course Vlad doesn't know either. All he knows is limited to knowing that it exists. X23 US. Com updates fastest. The only people who really know the detailed information about this huge kingdom are the people from O'Hara 20 years ago. They already know the name of this huge kingdom, but unfortunately, they have been completely erased by the government. Because of the matter of this huge kingdom, Vlad clearly remembered what Dr. Kobo has said. In their research on the historical text, they found that it did exist in the 100 years that were erased 800 years ago. Of such a mighty kingdom, but everything about that kingdom was wiped out. The doctor believed that the government was afraid of the revival of that nation's mind, and then, before he uttered the name of that nation, the government aid-buster call has been issued. As a result, the entire O'Hara was completely destroyed, all the archaeologists lost their lives, and the only one left was Nico Robin, who should still be the second person under the crocodile at this point in time, but at that time, she was only 8 years old. Did she really know anything about that country? Vlad was a little unsure. And now the moon people also mentioned the huge kingdom, so they are also related to this country. Vlad has a big head, which is really curious. What is the existence of that legendary giant kingdom? Vlad saw in Elephant Lord's memory that the ancestor of the Kazuki family said that they and the suspected 20 kings who defeated them and seized world hegemony were initially allied, fighting against a certain enemy. So, did they represent the side of the huge kingdom? Then after defeating the enemy, he was betrayed by the other side and completely defeated, and the world has since been ruled by the other side. So who is the enemy? A sudden lunar man. Unlike, the moon people say that they are deceived, so even if they are the enemy, they are not the ultimate enemy, so who is the person who deceived them? Vlad didn't have the slightest clue. After all, the information at hand was too little. Even Holmes couldn't get any clear results under such circumstances. Well. Vlad smiled and folded the last page of the Moonman's words and stuffed it into his trouser pocket. It's better to be careful with this thing. If the government finds it, it will be completely torn. For the government, everyone knows those who have a history of 100 years, even if they only know a little bit, must die. With no exceptions. If you don't know it now, you don't know it. Vlad grinned, we'll know sooner or later. After all, Roger has put all the answers there. Yes, One Piece King of Pirates Gold Roger once collected almost all the historical texts by relying on the ability to listen to the voice of all things, and he brought all the information to the final island. Laugh Tail went up. As long as you reach the final island, as long as you become One Piece King of Pirates, all the mysteries hidden in history will be solved in an instant. It's a very simple method. Vlad is such a man who likes simple and crude methods. Speaking of which, Laugh Tail. Vlad suddenly had a flash of light in his mind, hidden in the new world, never revealed to the outside world. It is an island that can only be reached after obtaining all the 4 historical texts of road signs. Why did the Kazuki family specifically record such an island? Why? What's so special about this island? Is there such a possibility that although the huge kingdom of 800 years ago has been destroyed, there will still be relics of this point left? Then in fact, apart from the fact that there is a little record in the historical text, there seems to be no trace on this sea. So, Vlad guessed, is Laugh Tail actually a relic of that country? After all, only this island, which has been hidden in the fog and not exposed, can keep such a secret, right? Hee hee, woo ha 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 ha. Vlad suddenly started laughing, looking very happy. So, Captain, have you discovered something remarkable? Trafalgar Law carried 2 large bags in his hands, which were filled with various documents, and asked Vlad, who had an exaggerated expression. Who knows? Vlad smiled. Maybe. Yeah ha ha ha. Enel flipped through the information on the bookshelf with some joy. Since he officially joined the Fire Dragon Pirates, he felt a little ashamed that he was a boatman but had no ability as a boatman at all, so he has been flying to the moon every day for the past few months. In the process of rioting, there are also those who are working hard to learn mechanics. Now they are quite qualified boatmen. At least there is no problem in repairing the platinum drag. So these drawings and materials are indeed very useful to him. That's amazing, Captain. Enel said, how about this mechanical core that can learn evolution? Want to try it? Make a real robot army. I can try it. Don't be stupid, God. Vlad said so, and said dismissively, that kind of thing is too dangerous. Robots and humans are fundamentally different. The robot on one side raised its head in surprise, looking very ignorant. It's okay, you are special. Vlad said casually. Really? He. The robot is very happy. The very humanized eyes in the steel-structured eye sockets have become a line. No matter how many times you look at it, you will feel that it is really terrible technology. We're still just making ordinary ones. Vlad raised the blueprint in his hand and said, as long as you make such qualified soldiers. Cut. Enel looked a little unhappy, and finally tried to show off his skills once, but it didn't happen. Clap clap clap. Okay, everyone. Vlad clapped his hands and said, take everything away and leave nothing behind, whether it's blueprints or these machines. It's better to have something ready-made than to make it from scratch. Okay, Captain. The chef has always embraced Vlad's decision. Really, enough trouble. The hand of the maid has become something like a screwdriver and electric drill. If you want to disassemble these machines, you can't simply use violence. I have to say that this kind of ability is completely irrelevant to the fruit of weapons. She is really a useful woman. Vlad, the judgment was right from the beginning. Bang. Hey, Paso, don't be lazy, you bastard. The maid kicked Paso's ass in a daze and said, don't be in a daze. Huh. Paso's whole body was jolted, and he suddenly came back to his senses. Well, okay. What the hell, go and help pack up. This is not the first time the maid has seen Paso. Of course, she knows what kind of virtue this man is. Except when doing experiments in the laboratory, this man does not have much time to be normal. Oh. Paso consciously stepped aside and started to pack up. I don't understand at all, what is this? Sakata's face was stern, trying not to expose his ignorance. It was very embarrassing. There was no way. He had never been exposed to such things in Wano-kuni. Calm down, show a commonplace appearance, don't show cowardice. Sakata thought so while packing his things. Well. Vlad was abruptly taken aback as he packed his things, and raised his head. Yaha, that's interesting, Captain. Enel also raised his head, it's for us. Call. Vlad looked helpless, I'm really not afraid of death. Don't you see our flag? Yahaha, Captain, you said it too. Enel said, there will always be guys who are not afraid of death. It's been a long time since we fought together. Although it's just some insignificant guys, but you can also play and see. Chapter 359 Rattling Swords. At this time, on the sea that is already very close to Tsukimi Island, 3 marine battleships have already taken the wind and waves and headed towards Tsukimi Island. As I said before, this island is not far from Marine Base, so there are very few seas. Thieves will come to this island to do things. X23 US. Com updates fastest. West Blue is not the weakest sea like East Blue. The powerful pirates in this sea area are like crucian carp crossing the river. In contrast, in order to deal with such pirates, the strength of the marines in this sea area it is even more powerful. After all, the 4 seas are the most stable sea areas operated by the government, and the pirates can't make any waves. Therefore, when Jack received the contact from the residents of Tsukimi Island, he was a little confused. Since he was transferred to this marine base to be stationed, there were already many pirate groups he defeated, but he never encountered any. I have been attacked this month. After all, the 2 islands are too close together. It only takes an hour to travel from the base to the Tsukushima Island by warship. Pirates are crazy to attack the marine base. An island so close, right? Jack has always thought that there is no such crazy pirate in the world, but today, it seems that such a pirate really appeared. Without the slightest hesitation, nor did he suspect that he was being deceived, Jack immediately led his men, 3 marine warships carrying 500 people on their way to Tsukimi Island, although according to the residents of Tsukimi Island, they arrived there. The pirates on the island have only 1 ship, and the number of pirates seems to be in single digits. But this is not the reason for Jack to take it lightly. As a marine soldier who used to study in the headquarters, Jack is very clear that as a soldier, it is necessary to reduce the casualty rate, and it is not difficult to understand by concentrating superior forces to defeat opponents with an advantage in numbers. Soon, Tsukimi Island was close at hand, and Jack, who was standing on the bow, could already see the village on the island, so of course he also saw the pirate ship suspended in the sky. Call. Jack took a deep breath and looked shocked. Is it really a flying pirate ship? Colonel Jack, is that a pirate ship flying in the sky? Beside Jack, his left and right hands, a lieutenant colonel in the base said in surprise. Nonsense, can't you see the pirate flag? Jack replied, who else would hang a pirate flag on a ship except a pirate ship? Amount. The expression on the lieutenant colonel's face was somewhat subtle. Lord Colonel, I mean, that pirate ship actually flew in the sky. Didn't the previous residents already say it? Jack said casually, it was a flying pirate ship that attacked Tsukimi Island, didn't you hear it just now? No, I mean. The lieutenant colonel suddenly found it difficult to communicate with his superiors, there really is a flying pirate ship. Of course there is. Jack's tone was a little weird, but there was indomitable courage in his eyes. You don't know it doesn't mean it doesn't. The reputation of this ship is on the sea, but it's like thunder. Let's go, bastards. The warship was approaching the shore. Jack pulled out the long knife at his waist and shouted, let these pirates see the backbone of our marine. Oh 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 oh. The morale is extremely high. These marine soldiers are not incompetent, or the commander who leads them is not an ordinary marine junior officer. Dash 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 dash. Done, guys. Vlad carried a large bag and said so. Ah, everything that can appear in the line of sight has almost been emptied, right? Luo responded with Vivi's smile, and he held the wild sword on his shoulders, with an equally huge package hanging from the back. Well, I helped too. The white bear looked a little happy. He held a large bag between his two hands. The fur tribe named Babo was very happy that he could help. Is there nothing to move? Serena looks very relaxed. Her hands are empty, but her pet Xiaobai has several large packages on her back. After all, this woman is not the type to fight head-on, and her strength is extremely limited. The most astonishing thing is the chef. This man has a dozen soft but extremely tough tentacles extending from his back. He is calmly carrying a dozen machines removed from the laboratory. He is indeed the man Vlad relies on the most. Is beyond imagination reliable. Okay. Vlad smiled and said, it's almost as much as you can take away, so let's go. Some guys out there can't wait. Really? The maid let out a breath of smoke, and said in an unhappy voice, this is not good in the world, any cat or dog will come to trouble us. No eyesight. Yeah haha, you guessed wrong. Maid. Enel was carrying two large packages in his hand, and he smiled, the guy who came here is very discerning. What? The maid looked surprised, what did you hear? Guess what? Enel has never been a nice guy, even if the person he's talking to is a maid he's been with for a long time. You bastard. The maid didn't care too much, she's already used to it. If she really cares about it all the time, she'll just get angry every day. Okay, let's go. Vlad took the lead with a smile on his lips, go and meet these brave guys for a while. Dash 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 dash. Is it here? In front of Dr. Tsukimami's house, Jack held a long knife in his right hand and a musket in his left, turned his head and asked softly. Colonel Jack, those pirates got in here. The white-haired old man on the side nodded again and again, and said angrily, they must have come for the research results of Dr. Eugen. Dr. Tsukishima. Jack frowned. The name was very strange. Although he knew the name of the island was Tsukimami Island, he really didn't know there was a person named Dr. Tsukimami. Amount. The old man looked hesitant. Forget it, forget about it. Jack pressed his curiosity, now is not the time to think about these things. No one can be presumptuous in the land of justice. Jack said, old man, you go away first. To be honest, I don't know what's going to happen next. Oh. Suddenly, the old man ran away in a hurry. Lord Colonel, this flag. Beside Jack, the lieutenant colonel swallowed his saliva involuntarily with a pale face and panic in his eyes. He had already recognized who the flag represented. Shut up, Lieutenant Colonel. Jack whispered, don't let justice be ashamed. There are so many people. When Vlad walked out of the door of Dr. Moonshine's house, he saw such a scene. There were 500 Marine soldiers, and 500 guns had been aimed at them. What do you want to do? Chapter 360 Firm Justice. Come out. I don't know who said that suddenly in the Marine confrontation. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Silence. Jack immediately scolded loudly, it's on the battlefield now, where do you get the extra energy? Marine Q, which was still a bit turbulent, was immediately silent, and the mental outlook was completely different from the general Marine soldiers. I have to say that Jack is really good at leading soldiers, and prohibiting orders is the least. Everyone could see that a few people came out of the courtyard. The leader was a large black cloak. Inside was a white shirt. The buttons were not buttoned, revealing strong muscles. The lower part of the body was a loose shorts, with a pair of flip-flops on his feet, a large burden in his hand, and a wanton smile on the corner of his mouth. Hey! Almost as soon as they saw the person coming, all Marine's minds were instantly empty, as if it was not a human but a monster that appeared in front of them, and even many people couldn't help but take a step back. Calm. Jack, of course, noticed the strangeness of his subordinates, and then shouted, calm down, idiots. This is. The lieutenant colonel on the side turned pale. These Marines didn't know who this man was, but he did. He didn't know the pirate ship that was still floating in the air, but the pirate ship was floating above. Flag he knew. Fire Dragon, Vlad. Of course, the person who came out would not be anyone else, only Vlad. The first thing you saw when you walked out of the gate was a large area of blue and white, and the densely packed Marine soldiers had already crowded the not wide open space around. When they were full, hundreds of muskets were already aimed at them. Ah, there are so many people. Vlad lazily put the big package on his shoulders, glanced at the Marine soldiers, and then fixed on Jack's body. Not only the clothes were different, Jack and the Marine around him were the biggest ones. The difference is that this guy has very firm eyes, which is obviously different from the ignorant panic of the surrounding Marine and the panic of the Marine who seems to have some status. Hey, this is... Vlad tilted his head. What are you trying to do? Crack. Cold light Vivi flickered. Jack raised a long knife in his hand, pointed at Vlad from a distance. His tone was firm. Pirates, your actions have disturbed the peace of this island, and the residents here are terrified by your arrival. Disturbed, what we wanted to protect was offended by you. Quote. Now, in the face of justice, let's be honest and let go. Crackling. Hey. Jingle. Accompanied by the sound of crackling electric current, there is the man's deep pained cry, followed by the sound of a long knife falling to the ground. Bright electric lights flickered, and the blue lightning instantly cut through the space, hitting Jack's hand heavily. Enel was still carrying two large pockets in his hand, but after just a glance, an electric light shot out from his eyes, easily knocking down Jack's weapon, and by the way, he almost burned Jack's right hand. Coke. What? Colonel Jack. What happened in an instant almost made these Marine soldiers stupid. Jack was able to become a colonel of the Marine branch and become the top officer of a Marine base. On the one hand, he was very good at leading soldiers, but his own combat effectiveness should not be underestimated. Yes, there has been a record of defeating pirates with a level of 30 million, but what is the situation now? What was that just now? Thunderbolt, is it lightning? That guy is. Devil Fruit ability. Even in weak seas like East Blue, although capable people are rare, there are legends of devil fruits circulating, let alone places like West Blue. These Marine soldiers saw Enel's identity as a capable person almost instantly, and were extremely surprised by this. Devil fruit is indeed a very powerful thing. As long as a good fruit, the trash fish can immediately have a strong strength, and this way the strength is not weak, and it is a very strong strength in the 4 seas. Hello, Marine. Enel Vivi tilted his head, with an indescribable laziness in his tone. Don't use weapons at my admiral, okay? After all, it's really not easy to control the power without killing you directly. Oh, what a powerful ability. Logia, S Guro Guro no Mi, Rumble Rumble Fruit, our pirate group really Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, they are all monster-like guys. The samurai named Sakata stared at the dead fish and shrank back, not thinking of anything. However, do you really have to say that? Both the tone and the words are extraordinarily rude, okay. Hey. Cold sweat was dripping down Jack's face. His right hand was now charred black, and he had completely lost consciousness. There was a faint smell of disgusting flesh wafting up. Even if it was just an understatement, Enel's electric shock was not universal. Level can be ignored. Okay, Mr. Marine. Vlad said, you know the difference a little bit, don't you? Even a stupid guy can see it. The strength comparison between the two of us is so clear, so huge that even if you risk everyone's life, you won't be able to stop us a little bit. So, if you don't want to die, please get away. I'm in a good mood today, and I don't really want to kill people. What a joke, pirates. He didn't care about the injury in his right hand at all. Marine named Jack clenched the musket in his left hand, and there was not only a little bit of fear in his eyes because of what happened just now, but only uncontrollable anger and determined will. Do you want the righteous Marine to retreat in front of you? Quote. Stop giving me self-righteousness. That's why I said, Marines are an amazing bunch. Vlad suddenly sighed. So, indeed, Marine's strength is reflected in such places, because they represent justice. As long as the government exists, the government is still the ruler of the world. They represent justice, even if it is West Blue. There are such Marine officers in such a place, but it's really frustrating. Vlad regarded Marine as an imaginary enemy second only to the government from the very beginning. So, Captain. The chef noticed his captain's troubles. As Vlad's right-hand man, the man said, "Do you want to solve them?" "Hello?" Vlad asked suddenly. "You know our identity, but why are you not afraid of us at all?"